of loan. Gachagua has, however, said that paying up the loan has helped the nation make great strides towards reviving the economy.
The patient called the Kenyan economy was on life-supporting machines. The president, as a chief surgeon in the theater of the economic recovery, has struggled and gotten the patient from ICU to HDU. The patient now is in the ward and is showing good signs of recovery. All the organs are operating. All the organs are working. The patient is showing signs of improvement. The patient has put on weight.
Education CS Ezekiel Machogu has dismissed claims by Azimio leader Raila Odinga that there was an exam printing contract that was cancelled. Appearing before the Education Parliamentary Committee, Machogu said that national examinations printing tenders are awarded annually and they follow the due process.
I would like to clear the air that nobody's contract has been terminated. Actually, exams each and every year, a contract is made. And Kenya not being an exception because we are within the region. We are competent enough, we have the capacity that we can be able to print exams here, and the procedure that was followed was right. And again, if you look at the Procurement Act, the same that has been applying before the other years is the same that applied for this year 2023.
Machogu further revealed that a forensic audit on the 2023 KCPE results was ongoing and would be made public on completion.
I did specifically indicate the terms of reference when I did a letter to the CS ICT because they are competent in that area. They have experts, and really where we had a problem was not in the entire exam as such. We only had a problem on data transmission, and that's why I want answers on that. He has been able to appoint a team. The team has not been able to complete the work as given in our terms of reference, and immediately the report is out, I will be able to share that particular information with this particular committee honorable chairperson and also with the Kenyans so that they can be able to know what really happened.
National Assembly Majority Leader Japanni has officially presented the National Dialogue Committee report to Parliament. Presenting the recommendations of the report, Minority Leader Piondai encouraged MPs to read through it before it's tabled for discussions in February next year.
Madam Speaker, this report, without really debating it, because I can't do that now, it is such an important report that we can't afford to have people, especially leaders, commenting on it without having read it. You see, it is irresponsible for a leader of whatever shade to comment on a report as important as the NADCO report without having read it. By tabling this report, I think now the House has given Kenyans an opportunity to read this report with a tooth comb and be able to understand what is in the report, because it has got very far-reaching recommendations. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, I was discussing with the Leader of Majority a while back that the nature of the recommendations in this report are such that it may require fast tracking. What I mean is that it might require this House to dispense with the report in the normal way as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, NARC Kenya leader has reaffirmed its position on the recently released National Dialogue Committee report, terming it a waste of time and taxpayers' money. Party leader Martha Karua said the report has not addressed key issues that forced Kenyans to demonstrate, such as the cost of living, audit of the 2022 elections, and respect for political parties and multi-party democracy.
While concluding on the NADCO report, we want to say it has nothing to alleviate the suffering of citizens, but it offers goodies to the leadership. This is totally unacceptable. It is a fraud upon Kenyans. It should be frowned upon and totally rejected. That is the verdict of NARC Kenya. It is a distracting national smoke screen.
The High Court has issued an order suspending the prosecution of Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango. Justice Chacha Mwita said the order will remain in force until May 21st next year, following a petition filed by West Mugirango MP Stephen Mogaka. She was arrested in Mombasa Tuesday and charged with 3 counts of fraud, operating a sacco without a license, and forgery. And Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has ordered for the investigation, arrest and prosecution of people in Lamu County who use social media to incite ethnic and religious intolerance. Speaking in Lamu West, Kindiki said the government remains determined to neutralize the threats posed by terrorist, extremist ideologies and other criminals. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin there, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
This is one of the hottest show that we can never miss any morning, and it's a show that really gives the real situation in the situation room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. People hiding here and there, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you were showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. Getting into the ends of the first week of December, and Nairobi Street seems to be getting emptier and emptier by the day, but it's all a watch to see kind of thing. If you're getting into the CBD this morning and then out towards Westlands, you'll be all right. If you're getting out towards the Thika Superhighway or coming into the city from the Thika Superhighway, you will be fine this morning. Not much traffic has started to build up as you're getting in from Mombasa Road, also from Langata Road, Gong Road. It's all looking pretty good. Jogoo Road actually doesn't have that much traffic on it this morning. We'll probably see more action as the sun comes up. But for now, it's starting to build up in little bits and bobs on the Eastern Bypass, but nothing, again, too earth-shaking or shattering. We'll be here for it as we get into the morning. Let's know what's going on as you get into your Friday. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X as we try to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Good morning.
The only way to start your day.
Welcome to Friday, getting into the end of the first week of December. It's the 8th of December, and here we are hurtling down towards the very end of this year, 2023. How are you doing? And welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. As we're getting into it this morning, conversations about several things we'll have today. Ndu here with you. CT Muga and Eric Latiff will be here in a minute, one would hope. As we keep getting into it this morning, let's look at some of the conversations that we will be having today as we get into it. It is Friday. A healthy Friday conversation it is a Health Friday, but it's more along the lines of activism and addressing injustices against girls and women. The 16 days of activism comes to an end in a couple of days or so. And Mary Njoki and Pacifica Ongecha will be with us here from Groups Kenya, and we'll be talking about addressing these injustices from 8 a.m. At 7 o'clock, Danstan Omari, lawyer, will talk about Ruto and whether he will achieve his vision for Kenyans. And so we'll be looking into that conversation this morning with him. A number of things have happened as we've gotten into it, looking into a number of things that happened in the news yesterday, and we'll be looking into those headlines later. We're going to take a break from all of it and look at weather, see what's happening with the weather this morning, and then we'll come back and say hello to everybody and then get into it today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
16 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning with highs of 25. We'll see lows of 15 through Friday. Lows of 10 in a mostly clear Nakuru, going to highs of 26. And at 11 degrees, it's partly cloudy in Nyeri. We'll see highs of 25, back down to lows of 11. It's 8 degrees and partly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 25, and we'll see lows of 8. And looking into a mostly cloudy Mombasa at 26, we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 25. Malindi is cloudy at 26 already, highs of 31. And looking into a mostly clear Kisumu at 19, highs of 28. 28 will be the high also in a mostly clear Kakamega at 17, coming down to lows of 16. Kampala raining this morning at 18 with highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam is cloudy at 26 with highs of 30. We'll see lows of 25. Johannesburg at 14 is partly cloudy, highs of 27, back down to lows of 14, and into a partly sunny Mogadishu already at 26, highs of 32. Addis Ababa is clear at 9, highs of 22 this morning, and Lagos is partly cloudy at 26 with highs of 32. We'll see lows of 24. All right, and then into Kinshasa, it is mostly cloudy at 24 with highs of 30. Friday afternoon in Beijing is mostly sunny at 8 with highs of 13. We'll see lows of 1. And while Paris is cloudy at 7, going to highs of 10 and lows of 6, London is cloudy at 8 with highs of 11. Thursday night is mostly cloudy in New York at 3 degrees. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 5 and lows of 1.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Hello. It's going like that. Has the intro played?
We've finished everything. Now, Karibu.
So why are you doing traffic after the intro?
6:30.
What happened? City?
What happened?
What happened?
I don't know. But I think is in the happening positions. Tell us what's happening.
Guy.
What's happening?
I'm here.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to Friday.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm very well.
It's more welcome to the end of the year.
So welcome to 2024.
Yep.
Just like that, Buana. Is it cold today? But it's just
ish.
It's cold-ish.
Yeah, but nothing alarming about it. My body would have told me.
I hope next week will be as sunny as this week.
It will rain.
No, don't say that.
It will rain.
Next week we are hosting a football tournament in Kajiado, and it needs to not rain.
No, it's football is fun when it is rain.
We need spectators on the field.
She come with umbrellas.
Hapana bwana.
Tafuta kampuni ambao kuna umbrella. Wakuja wa sponsor at least 1 hour. Sponsorship si pesa, wakuja na umbrella.
Wakuja na mwavuli yenyewe.
Ambayo imechapishwa jina yao. And then camera kuwa tapiga picha watapata advertisement. Yes.
Ai. Okay. Suko salama kila mtu. Okay. My seat is low.
You should take this one and I give you that.
City, I have it. I have the business daily.
You have?
Yes.
Rudisha
return to sender.
Mali umeitupa enda uchukue.
Unataka hii kiti? Let's just wow. Stand up, take this chair, I take that one.
That one is worse than this one.
It's higher than that one.
Okay.
And you look like you're about to sink into the ground.
Bwana.
Aya, amka.
Wacha kwanza nifanye hiki kitu as you do nini traffic and all.
Watu tunaongea nini leo?
Ushasema hiyo mambo yote?
Yeah.
Why are you doing things backwards today? So have you done the headlines?
Where were you? No, we're waiting for you to do the headlines. Stand up.
Have you done weather?
I beg, stand up, Joe. Yes. Take this chair. Stop being stubborn. Is it lower or higher than this one?
I think.
Hapa nimechezwa.
Bas.
So what have you made fun of?
I've been playing.
The key thing is that it's a chair, isn't it? Okay.
It's the chair.
So since everything is upside down, can I see the proverb?
No.
No. Let's greet people first.
Oh, we haven't greeted people.
Now we want to greet
ones?
people. The people online.
Have you done weather?
Yes.
Have we greeted Eric? How are you this morning?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. Ndu, how are you this morning?
I'm well,
fine.
Thank
Now greet
you.
other people, please.
All right.
Everybody's now fine here.
There are people online this morning.
Hii show leo ikoaje?
See, higgledy-piggledy. Twende nani?
Nimewamiss sana. Ara anasema Siti salimia sisi indoluo.
Ore uru.
Bas. Uru to you too.
Uru
oh yeah, uru to you as well.
Even you so uru.
Hey.
In Kikuyu, oya ore is oya ore. Take and run away.
Do you see?
Take and run away.
Hi, Ndu City, Eric and Ednah. Kenya is broke. No CDF, no teachers, but there is a return of CASs. No money in Malawi. We say Palibe Ndalama. CT say Palibe Ndalama.
CT is saying Palibe Ndalama.
No money.
No money.
Palibe is no and Ndalama is money.
Or is it
or the other way around? You never know with these things. Okay. Abito says, good morning, CT. I'm hoping today you locked in first. Special regards to Ednah and Tom. Tom gani huyo? Ednah, special regards to you. Sasa chukua zingine upatia Tom.
Executive producer.
Let's just greet Tom Japanni.
Tom Japanni, you've been greeted properly.
Pale, producer ni Ednah, executive producer ni Tom Japanni.
Bas, ndio
huyo sasa huyo exec.
Exactly, amesalimiwa.
Alex Mnai says, good morning to Kondani Hapa Lusail. Evans Ntabo says, good morning, greetings to everybody. And Duncan Obat is watching from The Hague. Zachary Otieno says, good morning, Spice, tuned in from Mombasa. Good morning, says Sir George. Have a Friday weekend. And Busiri is watching from New York. Whoever thought we might have to question the results of the KCPE exam? Was it not to be an equalizer? That's a good question. Hi, CT Ndu, Eric Latiff, Ednah, you guys are rocking, listening from Eldoret. Congrats, Eric, on your top 100 Kenyans.
Dang.
Voila.
Congratulations to all of you.
Emmanuel says, good morning from Delhi. Ndu, an assignment to you. To me? Okay. Situation Room show should start with a word of prayer. Okay.
Sawa. And the national anthem.
While we're at it.
And how should we end it?
Like votes of thanks. Okay, sorry. Locked in from Bahrain. David is only greeting Ednah today. Ednah, what did you do? It's only, voila. She's sending you fingers of love. Bonnie Lake is where Joe Mongai is this morning and says, good morning, everybody. How many countries can we proudly say we have a mobile president like we do? He's here, there, and everywhere. Wakenya, oye. Anthony Onyango says, good morning, tuning in from Rongo. Solai Nakuru is where John Shege is. Hey, Ndu City Latiff, good morning to you. Salamu from Flint, Michigan. Is the water nowadays clean in Flint? Do tell us. Amesema Zakayo Ashuke sasa.
Or did it have asbestos?
Children were getting sick, bwana. The water from the council coming out of taps was frothing.
Were the pipes,
some years ago.
Were the pipes okay?
They checked the pipes, and so there was, words of possible sabotage. People were getting sick after having consumed the water, and it was specifically Flint. So, let's see. Joel Adondi says Kansas is represented. Congratulations, Eric.
Vanzana.
And Gore, my beautiful people, well done. And beautiful youth, thank you very much. Maureen Mudaura says, unye odogu. Unye is, I like that very much. Unye odogu, into greeting from sunny Manila, aka Duterte land.
What does it mean?
Unye is wife. Odogu is... It's aspirational, Sha. Odogu is like...
aspirational wife?
Yeah, I'm an aspirational wife. No, Odogu is like someone who is revered. Odogu, the emperor, the champion, is like Odogu. You get
the Oga.
So wife of...
What's higher than Oga?
Odogu.
So wife of Odogu.
Yeah.
All right, we have got it.
It's you now.
No, that's what she has said. Who am I to argue?
No, don't argue.
Jeffrey Mogaka says, good morning, Situation Room. Lloyd Tok is tuned in. Ednah, I'm asking you, what did you give to people? Because everybody wants to rate you. Hey, wow. Brian Ochene says they need to start paying employees in USD. I am in agreement. Sam Boro says, good morning. James Mukabana says, good morning, Spice, tuning from Kajiado. Happy Friday, Team Spice. Today is Pause and Reflect. Can we point to one tangible success the KK government has achieved? Athi River tuned in. All right. Robert Libogo, happy Friday from Mombasa. Mashari and Jeru says, good morning, everybody. Good to have you here. Mama Wangoi. Wait. I've gone very far away because there's so many people online. My goodness, I skipped quite a number of you. I'm very sorry. King Dave Luba says good morning. Beatrice Elati had some nice things to say yesterday. Amai Okoh says good morning. Maureen, again, we see you. Yeah, the chairs are adjustable. My dear Maureen, is because what you see is not exactly what is the case. Kenya Leo says good morning. Icon is also here. Lazar Gray says good morning. George Mugweru says good morning. He's listening from Nanyuki. Many more people online this morning. Robert, George, Biketi, Mibi Kiprono, Akiri Akiki. Everybody have a fantastic day. Everybody's here. Let's go.
Huyo George Mugweru ko Nanyuki?
Yeah.
George, mambo namna gani?
Unajua George?
I think najua yeye.
Okay, we salimia George.
Yeah. Yes. Hatutaonana lakini nimemsalimia. Apokee salamu. Invite Ndu to Nanyuki, George. Tembea Kenya. #.
Nimetembea Good.
Kabisa. Haya, City. The final proverb from Eritrea. What's the capital city of Eritrea?
Asmara.
Is that the political and everything capital?
Everything.
Plus the port capital.
You know them, everything is just unified. Even president is just one.
As opposed to
president with other people bothering him and supposedly helping him to rule. Them, they don't have this interference of too much democracy. They just have enough. Just enough. Yeah, now, one final exam. I mentioned to you the currency. Does anybody remember what I told you the currency was?
Nakfa.
Well done. 300 or 300.
Thank you very much. Kuna kitu ingine inakuja kama sweet hivi.
Usijali.
Okay. Final proverb. Final from Eritrea. Dreamers remember their dreams when they're in trouble.
Dreamers remember their dreams when they're in trouble. Should have come with that yesterday.
Hey, Bwana. Just before.
I should have been yesterday's proverb.
The leader of majority was here.
Higher headlines.
Headlines on the front page of the Standard today.
Start again. Go.
Hard questions as CS defends KCPE results. Education Cabinet Secretary was before Parliament to explain what could have gone wrong with the marking or results transmission. He said all was well and that what learners got are a true reflection. However, he failed to answer some questions. Who printed the exam? Well, yeah.
We've gone there, have we?
Yeah. Were anomalies because of marking errors or transmission problems? If results used to place learners are provisional, will Form 1 intake be affected when final results are declared?
Will it also be provisional?
Yeah. So we just were not able to answer those ones, but still, it was a hard time. We'll look into the details of that story. Dialogue team reports a fraud, Martha Karua has declared. She came out and spoke yesterday. She said, all this nonsense that you people are doing, fraudulent. Stop it.
She was bound to say this.
In Dubai, COP comes to a close today.
Okay.
Much hyped Africa climate calls a non-issue. Didn't come to the light during the last 3 days of the Conference of Parties. Ruto pushes MPs to make the housing levy legal. You guys have a duty, he said, as parliamentarians, legislators, representatives of the people, to actually make this thing come to be. Do not let it go to naught because of some political whim. So, the big fight that made UDA call off polls. So UDA has been having party elections, has not been having party elections. Has been having party elections, has not been. Now they are not. They're telling you why. On the front page of The Nation, KCPE audit. Machogu seeks answers for errors. He seeks. Are we not the ones who should be seeking from him? That's an interesting headline on The Nation. Okay. Kusi Festival. Okay, we're seeing that happening in Botswana. State now moves to widen housing levy net. New affordable housing bill to include Kenyans in the informal sector. So nobody is going to be left out. We are going to all enjoy this party together. Let's look into some of the tickers. There's looking at a covering of a former rugby player, Dennis Ombachi, who was quite the sensation for Kenya, and the different things that he went to after his retirement from rugby. Staff colluded with hospitals. This is an interesting one, and we need to look into it. Staff colluded with hospitals to commit fraud, says NHIF boss. The National Health Insurance Fund management yesterday admitted that some of the employees colluded with private hospitals to defraud the institution of billions of shillings. The question is, did you know this then and kept quiet about it? Why are you telling us now? That's on the back page of The Nation. Voila, say so.
The Business Daily, inside Thuge's big policy gamble to stop the shilling slide. So they're looking at what the central bank's monetary policy committee did on Tuesday, which is raising the interest rate to its highest since 2011. And they're saying so now. In his increase, Dr. Thuge cited the shilling as the primary concern, saying its depreciation has exceeded the level that would have been expected in its correction from recent overvaluation. The weaker shilling is also posing a debt problem for the government by inflating the shilling value of external borrowings and raising the cost of servicing the loans. So he's hoping for a repeat of what happened in 2011 tightening, which saw the shilling's exchange rate retreat to 85.20 to the dollar by the end of the year. and inflation falls steadily to touch 6.09 by August 2012. CBK is banking on the high interest rates to attract foreign investor flows, which will in turn improve dollar supply and support the shilling by making hoarding of dollars less attractive. This is what they are hoping to do. It's a wait-and-see situation. Ticker headlines. Profit alerts hit 12 as firms cite cost pain. Many of the listed companies have just issued profit warning. State tables bill in Parliament to salvage the housing tax, while consumers expect EPRA to slash fuel prices. We're all expecting bank loan defaults to hit 17% by the end of the year. Banks should now start
That's what is going to happen.
Silipi.
What do you expect? Yeah.
City. The Star?
Yes, the Star is here. Star is not here.
You don't have it?
No, I don't have it.
You have it? Yeah. But yeah, Star.
I'm not certain where it went to, but right. Talks, top right-hand corner in burnt brown. Talks team right to propose a hybrid system of government. I had to get this right.
Talks team.
Talks team. Not talks. Talks team.
Right
to propose. Right, and meaning they are right.
As in they have a right or they are writing.
Yes.
Oh.
They have a right.
It's like they write to somebody.
They have written.
Yes.
Oh.
No.
They have a right.
They have a right.
Oh.
Like that's.
Or they are right.
No. It is not WRITE.
Okay, that's
is it that they are right or they have a right?
Have a right.
They have a right.
Writing.
They have a right to propose a hybrid system of governance.
Says who?
They have a right or they are right?
No.
Okay, go on.
Talks team right to propose. They are right. Yani kizungu inawaletea shida leo asubuhi.
Right.
Right on. The story is on page 4 of Siasa. Okay? And in Siasa, there's the story headlined Nyakango arrest. Okay? This is a control of budget. Right. Okay. I've got to stop saying this. Okay, let me choose another. Jolly good. Yes. Is it okay to say right? Okay. Okay. Yeah, misfortunes. Families out in the cold after homes burned down. This is a story on page 3. Salary, row. Row. No, it's row. I'm just thinking row your boat. It's spelled the same way.
Row, rabbit.
Yeah.
He did not.
That's what he said. Okay. SRC fights to scuttle MPs, judges raising on perks. No one want to get rid of SRC. How dare they? Let's see them. Okay. Public outcry. Forensic experts to probe KCP mess, says Mashogo. Okay. Then bang in the middle of the paper. Relief. MPs expunge section that barred public officers from doing business with states. We're back there again, are we? All right. MPs hand civil servants a chance to win tenders. Okay. We're back there. We're really back there.
Dego is back.
We're back there.
Connie, had that changed?
Well, there was a section. They wanted to remove it. Yeah, conflict of interest thing. Even if you remove it or keep it, there's still a conflict of interest, but it is okay. It's conflict of interest bill among legislation to tame corrupt civil servants. So now, you bring.
So there's conflict of interest bill that says there'll be no conflict of interest if a civil servant wins a contract.
That is now, which means now they're now the subject of conflict of interest is right, center, kila kitu mahali. Now we're going to have a proper discussion. Okay. Then bang in the middle. This one I have to read. King of Ndombolo promises show like no other. This is a picture of a gentleman called Kofi Olomide. Okay. Yes, and he was meeting two people. There's a gentleman called William Pike and CEO Patrick Kwaku, and they've come here to Well, they also have some music extravaganza somewhere or the other.
With coffee.
But there's a story somewhere in there where there's like a problem here. But this is very good. Say very good.
Okay, very good.
All right?
We do like that?
Like that.
Oh, yeah. Traffic manenos right now, it's 25 to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so not too busy in the city this morning. A little bit of traffic on the Thika Superhighway heading out into the CBD. And as you get to the Pangani underpass, that's where you'll see the most of it. There's traffic then on Haile Selassie, and that's in and outbound right around the Kamkunji roundabout, then coming in towards railways. That is heavy this morning. Not quite sure why, because there's nothing coming off Landis. So it's a watch and see kind of thing. Could be the early morning traffic bustling about as folks get to where they're going into the weekend. So we said we're fine on the Thika Superhighway. That continues. The Northern Bypass, not too much movement. And as you're coming in from Kitisuru out towards Limuru Road, that is fine as well. And you get into the CBD in a flash, if that's where you're going. Or if you're going to Westlands, that also will work well for you. Waiyaki Way, very little presence of traffic. Folks are able to get out real quick. And so this is a good thing. We're going to keep an eye on things because we know that as we get closer to traffic hour, we'll probably see some more here and there. We'll be here for it. Let us know what's going on where you are. We'll talk. SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, tell us.
So, Mashoko was answering hard questions yesterday in Parliament. He says he has nothing to hide over the numerous complaints. The government has ordered a forensic audit into the erroneous results received by some candidates through SMS in this year's KCPE examinations. Now, this is interesting, but I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay.
Appearing before MPs, Education CS Ezekiel Machogu also dismissed Azimio leader Raila Odinga's claim that tender wars were to blame for the results mess that has seen even candidates and their parents move to court. All right, so yes, he did appear before Parliament yesterday. It's interesting that he has accepted to have a forensic audit done because clearly the discrepancies that many folks have brought up have some weight. And so he's seen that, okay, there's an issue here. We know that Bwana David Njegere from the Kenya National Examinations Council has said, look, there's nothing wrong. It's not possible that, some of the things that you have stated are actually the case. Now, Mashogo is talking about this forensic audit, has basically said, look, folks, there could be an issue, so we've ordered it, and let's see what the results of that audit will be. All right?
That is called kicking the can down the road.
Absolutely.
Forensic audit. What are you forensically auditing? Kids sat an exam.
Did you mark it properly or not?
The paper is there, the result paper.
Yeah.
Kenya National Examination Council has a system of determining the very thing he requires an audit for.
Forensic means what?
Who marked those papers? You know something? You do.
Yes.
If you are marking school X, it is you who will mark school X. So we know it is you.
Don't I sign something?
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
The allocation there, it's there. We know it is you who was marking. Okay? So it is you who should be asked.
Thank you.
This thing is really not complicated.
Is it? So let me ask. I know that the marking, because we're looking at because we counted the days. We looked at about 16 days that they took to mark. Right? Initially, they said that the exam results would come out on the 30th of November. They came out 12 days earlier, 11 days earlier. So the question is, was there enough time taken to mark? Would it be crazy in asking that the results were to be taken back to the markers and they looked at it again? Would it be an earth-moving thunderstorm kind of thing?
If the person who marked is not called in to mark, you bring somebody else.
It would be somebody else to have fresh pair of eyes.
Every group has a team leader. That team lead will be asked questions. You'll determine whether they verified those things as you should. There's this random sampling of papers. Whether the whole process that brings about the results will be put to question. Then you'll bring someone else. Someone say, look, folks, these guys seem to have, but someone who's qualified, somebody who's known to be an examiner, and they'll be told, maybe this one, they'll tell 3 other people, these are the papers. Look at them again. This is the marking scheme. The system exists within the Kenya National Examination. We've had this examination council since antiquity.
Let me tell you what he said.
The first thing to establish is what we are hearing the reality
or not?
He said, from the preliminary review of the matter, it has been established that this problem of...
Which one?
Exactly. He kept saying this problem. But if we combine everything and compound it, this problem of some results having been the same, some not getting the results that they expected to have gotten, whether it was discrepancy in marking, but this problem was caused by the truncation of data by the service provider. Now, this particular problem where there was equals to
so it is the
KSL and not social
the transmission of results.
Yes. Okay. So that is now where they want to audit and see exactly what happened.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is that these marks that you're seeing, these are vifaranga of your computer.
That is exactly what being alluded to. Because the moment you say the problem is one of transmission, you've absolved the examiner.
Yeah, and even the actual results. So you're saying the hard copy results and what children are receiving on SMS
may not necessarily be the same. So can we compare
And the hard copy result is then going to the schools. Has that been established in many cases that what arrives in the school as the result for this particular school, these particular children and their subjects, and what they received on SMS, there's a big difference. If that is the issue, then it's not an issue of the exam result, it's an issue of the transmission of the exam result. That's what he's saying.
We haven't had that problem.
Which one?
That the message you get on text is different from what you've picked, because people have already gone to school to pick up because they need that for Form 1 allocation, right?
I think there was that issue. That's why they were saying that I'm getting marks for Kiswahili or for a subject I never took. Because when you get back to school, then it has the actual result of the subjects that you sat. Isn't that the case?
Eric, you see what you're saying gets to the heart of the matter in this sense. Why don't they just tell us the processes that are followed from the time the exam is finished and people sit down to mark what happened, so that anyone who has a doubt, if you are the sort of person who wants to pick out where you think the problem could be, See, the discussion around the result, we're talking results. How do you get the results?
Yeah.
What is it that happens before? We know the exams are sat.
Yeah.
We know that all that we know. Okay, now, then what happens to bring about the results? Because something didn't seem to go the way it should have. Because the children sat for the exams.
Yeah.
The responses to the exams were handed over to the relevant authorities.
Markers sat.
Let me just give you something really quickly so we don't spend too long. Okay. Machaku said, we have requested for a forensic audit from an independent body. I've already written to my colleague in ICT so that we know what happened. I've also written to Safaricom. Now, these are some of the issues that they brought up. For instance, some of the widely reported anomalies included candidates receiving grades with missing signs of plus or minus. Some candidates received their grades of 73B+, while others with the same score indicated 73B plain, while others had 75A plain instead of the correct grade, which is 75A minus.
Okay.
Now, this is where he said from the preliminary report, we see that there was an issue caused by the truncation of data. He went on to say that from the report, the errors were also caused by the configuration issues on the interface used to access results data from the database of the service provider. He said that this year's anomalies of assigning different grades to identical marks were reported, but clarified that there were no anomalies in the official results at the KNEC portal and in the printout sent to schools.
How
you see? So what he's saying is that what comes off the portal and what has been sent to schools are the same.
What is coming out of the USSD is where the issue is.
There's a
That's
glitch.
why he's going back to the platform.
The Safaricom and the
So there's a glitch.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with the glitch, is it just glitch, or was it wind-assisted glitch?
You know, that's where you start asking yourself the question, what is exactly happening in this particular case? Because like you're hearing, the result that came out of NEC and was taken by hard copy to the school and uploaded on the NEC portal is this. When you query, it means that NEC has now given that information to this particular platform where you query and there's a push-pull with Safaricom. This is where it appears that the problem was. It's not affected the actual result.
We are back to
it is exactly the same thing.
The election. This is the election results back here. We are opening the server.
You went, you marked your ballot. It was counted as a physical paper. The ballot is in a box somewhere, and then what is coming out of a portal is what's being questioned. The thing is, here's the result.
So you go back, open. You know
I think there are two issues that I'm thinking here. One, the fact that this system remember that system even crashed and hung for some time that day.
It did.
Those issues then of it crashing, it hanging, this is a system that has been used before and it has not had these problems.
So if it has a problem...
If it has had a problem this time, what exactly happened to cause this problem this particular time?
And can it be fixed?
And those problems that were happening this particular time, were they, like City's asking, were they wind assisted, were they not? And what was the intention? The intention is to create this whole feeling right now that you're raising questions about the authenticity of the entire process. Is the process questionable up to the point of exams delivered to schools, exams distributed to candidates sitting the exam, answering, answer sheets collected, answer sheets brought to the exam center, answer sheets marked, and all those. That entire process, is there a question anywhere in that entire process? Because that's the exam.
For sure.
The rest is just the transmission of the result on a portal that you receive.
That's it.
We can't run away also from the very glaring reality that, because City will tell us that, you will tell how a child will do, give or take 5 to 10 points.
Yes.
You can tell.
You can tell how this child will perform in the exam.
You can tell.
But the anomalies that we have seen with very, very different marks, a child who's been scoring 405, 410, and then with results get 385, there's a question.
You will have to, that one has to be
and
answered.
there are too many of those occurrences here. So even when we are dealing with the technology, we're also dealing with the actual numbers and the marks that were awarded to these children. There is a big question mark. There's a big cloud over this thing, and it must be sorted out.
And then the uniform marks, where everybody seems to get a certain mark in a subject.
Yeah.
It is not impossible. It's just not probable.
It's not probable.
Yes.
Yeah.
This situation could actually have been explained in a way that it is understood, but the utterances are confusing the situation even more and more and more.
And the lack of clarity in some of these issues, the big question marks that are hovering over this whole situation, does not make it any easier to deal with.
It's like, if you ask me, when Eric talked about it being akin to kicking the can down the road, it is this situation that leadership seems to have of never wanting to admit fault.
Or even saying that there's a possibility that something went wrong.
There's something went wrong. Let's find out what it is that actually went wrong. No. It's everything you're saying indicates something went wrong, but at the same time you're saying nothing went wrong. You want to have forensic audit, but really nothing really went wrong. Okay? You are having a conversation with the owners of USSD, but something didn't go wrong. Systems fail. Systems have a problem. If the bulletproof system that we're told was resident at the house, we've now heard has had problems. Where sacred documents, you're being told, somebody tinkered with this thing in the system. You're thinking, really? Really? Anyway, we will get to the bottom of it one way or the other. Where children are concerned, those in charge are not going to hear the end of this one.
It's very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Sana. Hey, there's a story here. It's here. You see, when you go to many buildings, offices, including here at the Standard Group, there are those metal detectors, right? Excuse me, weka simu hapa, weka nini bag hapa, alafu sasa pita. Rudi tena. Uko na nini? Wafungue weka hapa. Nini ama ni belt? Those ones. Kenyans may have been exposed to dangerous radiation given the widespread use of handheld metal detectors, walk-through metal detectors, and luggage scanners by private security personnel at airports, seaports, train stations, buildings, hotels, public spaces, and various checkpoints countrywide. The use of detectors became prevalent due to a surge in terror attacks, and the government is now moving to regulate the largely unregulated field. In a letter from the Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority Director General James Keter to Private Security Regulatory Authority boss Fazul Mohammed, dated November 27th, the Nuclear Regulatory Authority chief says the widespread use of metal detectors and baggage scanners by private security personnel at airports, train stations and various checkpoints nationwide, the authority acknowledges the need to proactively address potential radiation risks. This is particularly crucial for operators employed in private roles. In light of a comprehensive radiation risk matrix and our ongoing consideration of additional regulatory approaches to mitigate the associated risks, the authority has affirmed that the provision of appropriate training as a first step is paramount. Following this communication, the Private Security Regulatory Authority, charged with the responsibility of regulating the private sector security, says the walk-through metal detectors and luggage scanners employ X-ray technology to generate detailed images. The authority is concerned that most of the deployed security equipment operating on X-ray technology has never been subjected to testing, calibration, or routine service. So now, those two authorities are saying, by the way, we have these many scanners all over. Do we know the quality and the standard of these scanners? Maybe we should, start regulating. Regulating means what? Fee.
Levy a tax.
We talk leave for testing, for certification by the Nuclear Regulatory Authority. If it doesn't have a certification from Nuclear Regulatory Authority, you are arrested. To get the certification, 2,500 per year. No. Tunasonga.
Nikama.
City.
Did you know that there was a policyholders compensation fund?
Yes.
In the insurance scheme. Did you know?
Yes.
So that should your insurer collapse, then they can refund you. Well, the state disburses 93 million shillings to compensate clients of fallen insurers. This is a story on page 21.
93? B.
No.
Million.
Bro, million.
Okay.
Policyholders Compensation Fund has disbursed 93.18 million Kenya shillings in claims to 778 policyholders of 3 collapsed insurance firms dating back to June 30th this year. Beneficiaries include 724 former clients of Resolution Insurance Company who have so far been compensated 82.21 million.
Okay.
The Insurance Regulatory Authority placed the firm in statutory management in April 2022 after it ran into financial headwinds and was unable to fulfill its obligations. Okay. I thought I would just mention that one because this one is unique.
It's a nice one.
No, I think it is very, 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 very.
So what I wonder though is,
you wonder,
does it only compensate for life policies? Because let's say you had a health cover. See, that was what?
Yes.
Resolution had health and maybe had some aspects of life. So if you've taken a life,
they are predominantly health.
Okay. So if you've taken a health cover and then the insurance collapses, what are they compensating you? Is it the premium you've paid or the amount you had?
Or the assured.
Okay, let me just say, okay?
Yes.
The Policyholders Compensation Fund was established in 2005 to provide compensation to claimants of an insurer that has been put under statutory management or whose license has been cancelled. This also aims at increasing the general public's confidence in the insurance sector. Okay? Now, they do not say whether, okay, it was who or which product or what. That's all they say.
We should look for them.
Let us look for them so they can come and explain to us and tell us. Because if it's health, then how are they compensating? What are they compensating you for exactly? Is it money you paid?
Or are they paying the health facility because you went there and they provided you
I think
a service?
There are more questions than there are answers in this particular matter. So if they came and explained it, we would be happy campers, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, staff colluded with hospitals to commit fraud, says the NHIF boss. So just when you were thinking that, everything was hunky-dory at NHIF, when it was, it wasn't. The National Hospital Insurance Fund Management yesterday admitted that some of its employees colluded with private hospitals to defraud the institution of millions of shillings. actually billions of shillings. Appearing before the Senate Health Committee, NHIF Chief Executive Officer Elijah Washira said that 12 employees were found culpable. 3 were terminated, while the others were suspended pending deliberations and direction from the board. Looking into the issues as they, in June, it was revealed how private hospitals defrauded NHIF through exaggerated claims. Mr. Washira said that 8 organizations that were exposed were suspended, but investigations have only been concluded on 6 and recommendations made for the NHIF board. Abdi Mohammed, who is the chairperson of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals, told the senators that it is hard for a facility to defraud NHIF without help from NHIF, since all surgical procedures undergo several stages of approval before a claim is paid, which is the truth. Like if you had, surgery today, and it was your insurance that was supposed to pay for it, you have to go through those levels of approval.
Yes.
If something was going to happen whereby there was an amount was marked up,
yes,
it would have to be from inside.
Yes.
You can't do that from outside. So that's what he's saying. Then somebody inside NHIF was doing this. He said that health providers can manipulate their payment mechanisms to commit fraud, including using genuine patient information to fabricate claims or by padding otherwise legitimate claims with charges for procedures that were not done. SHA, SHIF, everybody who's coming in now. I think that's one of the questions that we posed for Dr. Timothy Olwen last week. How are you going to make sure that these things that we've heard of for years will not continue with the new authority?
This thing is crazy.
Absolutely.
It's not easy actually to deal with it. Insurance fraud and health insurance fraud. So that's why we have some Kenyans here who are being looked for in America. I've done the same thing. Guys are balling in this country. Kumbe,
where they left.
It's fraud, Uko. Jaindi Kisero has penned an opinion piece today in the Business Daily. The imported cooking oil is a fat scam.
Play on words there.
On the cooking oil and the Kenya Bureau of Standards saga, I have a special plea to the government. We should not compromise what goes into our mouths at all costs, he says. The other day, KEBS told us categorically that they had subjected several consignments of edible oil imported under the state subsidy program to test and found the product to be unfit for human consumption. The ink has not dried on that announcement, and our standards body, the same one, backtracks and says that cargo is safe. Total confusion. Clearly, consumer protection does not rank high as a priority in this country. Pitiable, because at stake is the stuff we swallow. Because at the very least, what we should have seen from the government is the establishment of a proper investigation and then a comprehensive public statement on this very serious matter. When you're dealing with public health issues, clear messaging is an imperative. Yes, we are a corrupt society, sawa, but the last thing we should be prepared to do is to allow corrupt elites and profiteers to toy around with the lives and health of our people by selling to them substandard edible oils. And that's, I think I agree with Jaindi. This whole thing of, this thing came, was it safe? What happened to it? And then KEBS comes out and says, no, it wasn't safe. Then KEBS comes back and says it was safe. And it's not the first time that we've seen this. KEBS had the same issues with sugar. Remember?
Yes.
Oh, this one is condemned. No, it's not condemned. Actually, it can be
used. It's on the shelves. Yeah.
It can be eaten by cows. No, it cannot be eaten. These games must stop. And we must have a clear, non-politicized standards body in this country. Because this politics of coming in and saying, nani mekwambia useme hiyo kitu ni baya?
The boozer.
Can you say is good? What do you mean? It's a problem we're having. Keep it here for more. Good morning, 8:07 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has asked newly appointed diplomats to curb the wastage of public resources in Kenya's missions abroad. The president said the government will ensure ambassadors are held accountable for the use of funds allocated to embassies. He made the remarks at State House, Nairobi, during the meeting with 41 newly appointed ambassadors, high commissioners and deputy heads of missions. There were 27 ambassadors and high commissioners, 2 consul generals and 12 deputy heads of missions. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said the government has revamped and streamlined operations at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency in order to make it effective in distribution of medicine to health facilities in the country. Speaking when he attended the 92nd Kenya Medical Training College held at Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi, the Deputy President said the government had focused on dealing with the inefficiency and poor service provision at the parastatal over the last year, adding that the efforts had been fruitful. The DP said the streamlining of KEMSA was among a raft of measures rolled out in the health sector in a bid to improve services as promised before taking office last year. He cited the employment of the 100,000 community health promoters as another big achievement that would improve their sector and boost the race towards universal health coverage. And the government has tabled a revised affordable housing bill seeking to regularize illegalities pointed out by the Constitutional Court. The bill, which went through the first reading, also seeks to establish a board that will manage the fund. On November 28th, Justices David Majanja, Christine Mioli and Lawrence Mugambi declared the housing levy unconstitutional, and it continued the implementation and contravention of the Constitution. And the government is in the process of constructing dikes along River Nyando to control flooding occasioned by the ongoing El Nino rains. Information Communications and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo said the move was a short-term measure to cushion families living downstream River Nyando against effects of floods. This, he said, comes after the successful desilting of the river by the National Youth Services before the onset of the rains. The CS added that as long-term measure, the government was pursuing to construct of Koru Soin multipurpose dam on the border of Kisumu and Kericho counties. This, said, would not only control the amount of water flowing downstream but also be used to generate electricity, supply potable water and for irrigation to boost food securities. Speaking during a relief food distribution drive at Nyamasawo Primary School in Ahero, Owalo said the government was concerned about the plight of households affected by floods, adding that the project shall be fast-tracked to deal with the menace once and for all. And Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says that the government is working on a national electric policy that will enable the adoption of low-emission vehicle mobility. Addressing a delegation from Uber, which is the pioneer of digital taxi hailing services companies in Nairobi, the CS has stressed that the policy will enable Kenya to be placed on the global map in assimilating low-emission vehicle mobility. The CS has urged the digital taxi companies to generate a business model that will enable drivers and vehicle owners to access affordable funding for electric vehicles. Now, it is back to long waits for Kenyans seeking passports as the Immigration Department is yet again faced with delays in processing passport applications 3 months after the Interior Ministry pledged to deal with the passport mess once and for all. According to reports, the breakdown of printing machines is yet again one of the reasons for ongoing delays, coupled with a shortage of essential printing materials. Nyeri House, the staff center of the Immigration Department, has reportedly witnessed a 2-month break in passport printing, plunging applicants into an extended period of uncertainty and anxiety. The National Hospital Insurance Fund and some private hospitals are engrossed in a bitter blame game over fraud claims as senators probe alleged collusion that has cost taxpayers millions of shillings. This much during a Senate Health Committee meeting where NHIF admitted that there has been collusion between a section of its staff and some private medical facilities. The National Health Insurer stated that it has investigated at least 20 private facilities in the last 1 year and established massive fraud, leading to suspension of licenses of some facilities. But the facilities have shifted the blame to NHIF, saying that there was no way they could be involved in fraud without the help of the agency. And police have announced the closure of major roads in the city centre to enhance the operations of a major youth summit at the Kenyatta International Convention Centre. According to Nairobi Police Boss Adamson Bungay, Parliament Road, City Hall Way, Taifa Road and Arambe Avenue will be closed for the 4 days. The 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit is expected to convene over 20,000 young people, government officials, corporate leaders, and development champions. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so a few minutes after 7 o'clock, let's see if we're getting into it with traffic this morning. We saw a while ago, traffic coming in the Thika Superhighway was not really a thing. Just coming back into it now and seeing at the Pangani underpass is where it will continue, at least for now. Not too crazy in other parts. Jogo Road starting to build up at some point. And we're also then looking at Haile Selassie coming in from Kamkunji at the roundabout. That was busy. It still is. Not quite sure what's causing that, but again, we'll see. Are you coming off Kitisuru? Then off of Limuru Road, you're all right. Still, traffic is moving. We're not seeing any holdups at all. Also coming out of Westlands, Wayaki Way, James Kishiro touching on that is clear. Langatero looks good, as it does on the southern bypass. We saw Kangunda Road also starting to pile up. Again, not too much of an issue this morning. Look and see what happens as traffic hour comes in about half hour or so, and we'll talk on Spice FM KE on X.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2023, going into 2024 in just a few days. My goodness. Tomorrow, are you prepared to go to Salga to go and see this delightful place that Username Investment are coming up with? Delight in Nakuru is a new development in Salga, just 20 minutes from Nakuru town, 300 meters from the highway at Salga on the right if you're heading towards Kericho. And Delight have basically just done the entire minimum works. There's a gate, there's a perimeter fence, there's water supplied, electricity has been pulled in, they are doing the road works inside there, the sewer system inside there. They're doing all those basic engineering works. And they're saying, come, take up an eighth of an acre, put up your house, let's build a community together. You need to be here. Amanonogani City.
And it's our kabisa. It's our.
And an eighth of an acre is going for only 799,000 shillings. Title ready, water ready. You must do your own background checks.
Indeed,
like
you must.
Said.
You must.
So you satisfy yourself forever that, this is what they sold me, this is what I bought. SMS the word Nakuru to 20321. That's Nakuru to 20321. Username Investment will call you back. They'll tell you, all right, we've seen your message. Are you interested in Delight in Nakuru? Yes. We have a site visit tomorrow, Saturday. Vehicles leaving at Kencom 7 a.m. and Westside Mall in Nakuru at 8:30 a.m. We'll take you there by bus. We'll give you lunch. We'll bring you back to Nairobi. If you'd like to just drive yourself there, or you're coming from other parts and you think, I'd like to pop in, you can do the same. Just SMS the word Nakuru to 20321. They'll call you back and you'll make the arrangement. Go there, you'll see so-and-so. Talk to them. They'll show you around. Select your plot. Let's begin the journey. 80,000 shillings is the deposit that you're required to pay. The rest you clear within 30 days.
Yep.
But you can also have a conversation that can extend this to about 12 months' time of repayment. Sawa. Mambo iko namna hiyo. Mambo ni namna hiyo. This Friday, we are now going to talk however we want, to say whatever we want on this show, because we have a lawyer. wakuje watushike,
wajaribu sio
wajaribu.
Yes, it's an attempt.
Dunstan Omari, advocate of the High Court, is our guest. Good morning, Dunstan.
Wakikuja mtajua wana nguvu, lakini wathubutu.
Watajua malenge si mboga. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much. I'm at the Operation Theatre at the Situation Room.
Kabisa. Pale.
Sawa.
Huyu mtu anaitwa CT has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from Eritrea.
Today's our final day, and this is the final proverb.
So give us a recap of the whole thing about Eritrea.
You know, Eritrea is a very interesting country. There are those who argue that Eritrea, Djibouti, at some point or the other were part and parcel of Ethiopia. Okay? And you will find that if you look at the community that comprises Eritrea, you're talking about the Tigrenya, you're talking about other small communities. They are communities that are also found in Ethiopia. But their de facto independence was in 1991. De jure, you know, when you have a lawyer here, you must throw around these words to show that you also was in 1993. Okay? Now, the working languages, there are three working languages. They are Tigrinya, Arabic, and English. Okay? Now, the Tigrinyas are 50%. That's a community. The Tigre, different community altogether, 30%. Saho, 40%. Afa, 4%. These same communities, you can actually find them represented in Ethiopia as well. Okay? Now, the one country that attempted to colonize Ethiopia but didn't succeed, the same country that tried to spread its tentacles to Eritrea, and that is the Italians. So, if you go to Eritrea, more specifically, if you go to Asmara, which is the capital, you will find a lot of Italian architecture.
Yep.
A lot of it. But of interest is what is historically there with regards to their religion. Civilization visited this place a long time ago. Long. More than most civilizations that we have in the Western world. And the remnants of that civilization still exist. Remember, they have their own alphabet. They have their own script for writing. Now, when you have a community that is that developed, it tells you just how far they've been at this thing.
Yes.
Okay. But they have a unitary government, meaning they have one political party. It's a managed democracy. This thing of too many parties confusing people and generally bring about them, they don't have that one. And they have a president. It's called Isaias Afwerki. Their population, now this is interesting. When I did the search of the population, I was given a range. I have never seen this. The range is 3.8 million to 6.7 million. That's the range of the population. So they're telling you, you decide. You know, what would you like it to be?
On a good day,
it could be 6.7. On a bad day, it could be, that sort of thing. Anyway,
the proverb
for the day: dreamers remember their dreams when they're in trouble.
Dreamers remember their dreams
when they're in trouble. Yes.
Wakili, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Until trouble appears, dreams are imaginations. So that when it appears, you try to make them become real as a solution to what you failed to do. Because dreams are purely failures that are being metamorphosized to appear as answers to what a human being has failed. Baral.
City.
When someone gets to the heart of the matter, in their own words, you have nothing to say but that is absolutely correct. Because think about it, when people talk about the future, it's usually something that is in your imagination, because you're not in the future. Now, the thing about troubles, you could say it's in imagination, but most troubles are actually real. They're experiential. It's something that you're going through.
Yeah.
So if you had imagined that you're going to become a multimillionaire by dreaming about how you will prospect for gold, and then poverty visits you,
you remember the dream.
You'll remember that dream.
Dream or vision?
Same thing.
Okay. Amanyota.
Why do you think Martin Luther King had a dream?
Because he was in trouble.
There was a lot of trouble then. And the dream was something that would be completely different from what they were experiencing at that point in time. Yes.
Wakili, is this country in trouble?
It is an understatement to say that the country is under trouble. It's a furnace. The volcano has erupted. The Holocaust is here. Disaster in itself.
Armageddon.
Where?
Why? Why do you say so?
We gave a clueless team
tulisema
to run,
lakini si ati hivyo. Si ati sasa we invite pro watu hapa tukuja tushikwe tu hivyo.
Angalau tumalize show.
We entrusted the country to those who have no capacity to manage the country. We are expecting from them what they have no way to provide. So we'll have to live with that reality for 5 years. If you give to somebody to manage what they do not understand what it is, then you don't expect any result. And that is why from one turmoil to another turmoil, from one furnace to another furnace, from one misstep to another misstep, we are totally praying very hard. You know, this country started with the fifth regime started with prayers. Heavy prayers, daily. Everything was said that the divinity will provide the answer. Today, it has been reduced to a Sunday for 1 or 2 hours, which means that the divinity space that we wanted to provide the solution has abandoned us. Because we have not lived to what we told the people that we shall do. And once the divinity leaves, then you are seeing calamity after calamity. The country is jumping, hopping from one problem to another. Look at a sequence of events within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Floods are here. Floods of rain. The floods come in terms of exam problems. Students are not getting the right exams. Floods are hitting the Kirima, people being evicted. Floods are hitting the Portland guys who are being evicted without any recourse all over. Floods are destroying roads when you have been told that there will be no El Nino. Everything is now flooded. I don't think.
How does that lead back to the lack of capacity, those in leadership?
Eric, let me tell the Kenyans that this is the first time that we have a head of state who was a PhD holder in State House. When you compare the first head of state at State House was a carpenter. That was the late Jomo Kenyatta. When you compare the second one, he was a basic teacher, Daniel Moi. The third one, a Makerere-trained graduate.
London School of Economics.
The fourth one, a political scientist. The fifth one, a PhD holder.
Scientist.
A scientist. But when you look at all the other five, all the other four, they are advisors, they are political advisors, their cabinet was solid. If any cabinet minister walked on the streets of Kenyatta Avenue or Mombasa Road next to Standard Group, every Kenyan knows them. Today, you look at the composition of the cabinet, is a concentration of political rejects that do not understand the dynamics of the country. So the president has the vision, None of his people understands that issue, and that is why there is a problem. Countries are run by cabinet. Countries are run by the technocrats, the directors. When you look at the composition of the cabinet and you look at the compositions of the PS, you look at the composition of the top parastatal heads, based on the qualification, because the biggest qualification for those jobs originally was Article 232 of the Constitution, merit. Under the Kenya Kwanza government, the best qualification is about shareholding. The best qualification is about loyalty to political sloganeering.
Come on, Wakili. Are you saying they don't have merit? They don't have professional merit? They don't have the background that suits sitting in a high level of office, like a principal secretary? Really, Mweshimo?
I have the qualification of being a lawyer, but I do not have the qualification of being a journalist. Putting me in the position of a journalist, I will be functionally literate. And what I'm saying, the people who have been put there have no capacity to understand the nitty-gritty of the position they are holding.
How do you know?
They might. The answer
You're
is
a lawyer, after all.
The answer is very clear. What is the end result? If you are claiming you have capacity, show us the results. The prices of food is what shows the results. Working for government, the referendum is the results in terms of school fees. Working for government as a decision maker, the answers are released when the price of fuel is going where it is. Working for government or steering the government is assessed in terms of what are people saying. So if out of 55 million Kenyans, everybody is complaining within 1 year and a half, is there any work being done? You look at...
one could argue that there is work being done. Also, one could argue that probably the 55 million Kenyans who may be feeling like work is not being done is also not a correct representation.
They are the ones who voted.
Yeah, and no census has been done.
And they are the ones.
They're thinking.
What I'm saying, when you look at the type of public engagement when this government came in, it was every day. Political engagements. And they could not work with money to meet the people. Today in Kericho, for you to go to meet your own people, you must carry billions to show them that please don't boo. Please don't stone us. This money is yours. Originally they could go with the Bible. Originally they could go with people on the streets. People are waiting for them. It has become a booing game. When you see the CS being booed in Bomet, Chirchir, it follows with Murkomrebe being booed in Kabarnet. Then now, all of a sudden, the tax that people are collected, others have no food to eat. Few have billions carrying from choppers as handouts. It is a serious paradox. So the referendum is out. The country is burning. Not fire, but the country is burning in terms of the cost of living, in terms of where we are going. And that is why my indictment that probably the president and his team did not understand what the term vision means. It is a slogan to them. Bottom up was a slogan. Because a slogan has no way of actualizing that slogan. But a vision is well thought. Compare the vision of Kenya Kwanza, the bottom-up vision, whatever it is, and compare the vision 2030 of the late Hayati Mwai Kibaki. It was structured. You could see it. You could feel it. The steps towards achieving that were very clear, elaborate, tested, and timeline set. Here, we have perfected the vision of lamenting city. Blame city because of this, or blame Eric because of this. So to me, we are in such a big quagmire that we need to rethink ourselves.
Do you think, Wakili, that this revelation, as you see it, is also something that the executive and those around him also see? Do you think, because I would I would venture that it's not possible that everybody sees things maybe going in a southerly direction, but that those who are in the driver's seat cannot see. Everybody else in the car seems to be able to say we're headed to an accident, but the person driving can't see. Do you think that's really possible? Do you think that the president is aware that things are not good and that he's doing everything he can to kind of steer this vehicle in the right direction? What would you say about that?
The president is 100% aware that things are not going on well. But what can the president do when he's a captive?
Of whom?
The political shenanigans around him, the political arrangement that brought him to power, the foreign there are two types of captives. One, our president is a captive of the foreign masters, the IMF, the World Bank, and those who are saying this is the agreement that was signed. In a marriage, there is what we call prenuptial agreements. The president signed prenuptial agreements to come to power with those who funded him, with those who supported him. Those prenuptial agreements are with foreigners. They are with those who say they are the shareholders in this company, to the exclusion of a very serious constituency, a big constituency of this country. So the president cannot maneuver. The president, I'll tell you for free, will find it very hard to sack, because it was a negotiated agreement. If you sack my person, then I pool my forces. The conglomeration of several parties that form Kenya Kwanza. The president, if you want to see the reality that our president is under serious problem, is when he tried to start a UDA party. Merge all these parties, let us have one party. It became hot. Within a very short time, he took off. That story ended. Because there is no common vision between those people called government. These are a bunch of individuals who have no common ideology, who have no common vision, who have no common purpose. What brought them there was the fear that President Uhuru Kenyatta's project, then called Raila Odinga, was going to take power. After Raila Odinga moved and Uhuru left, these guys, that's why I say, that time their clue was targeted at Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. Now that the target is not there, they become clueless. There is no common enemy they are fighting. And that is why today, because there is no common enemy fighting, you see Cherargei and Murkomen from the same region, they are fighting each other. They have started destroying each other one by one. And if Raila Odinga keeps quiet for 2 weeks, these guys, you'll see them carrying placards against each other. You've seen what happened to the chief whip in parliament. He's being whipped by the UDA members of parliament, Osoro. He's not being whipped by ODM. So the tide has become internal hemorrhage. They're destroying each other because they did not have anything binding. No glue was holding them. The set has broken. It can't hold anymore.
If your hypothesis is true, what would you have them do? It's easy for us to, lament about a situation. Misery loves company, as they say. We all get together, and the worse we say it, the more we talk about it, and the worse it seems. We kind of become comfortable in that position where it's easy to complain, it's easy to worry, and not taking away from what makes it so difficult. We're not taking away from that situation. But what would we have them do? Because what you're saying is that government and executive is visionless, then inadvertently rudderless, and then we're really not going anywhere. It's just the big blue sea and we're just going wherever. What would you have them do?
Talking to a wall is the biggest problem that anybody rational will continue doing daily. The noise that is coming from Kenyans is sufficient for anybody at the top of the mountain to listen. But do they have the ears to listen? Do they have the capacity to calm down and say, we were wrong? Please, let us work together. It is today they say this, tomorrow they say this. The chest thumping is a big problem, because when you form a government with a false notion that you have tyranny of numbers in terms of representation. You have tyranny of the brains. You have tyranny of the political machinery. You exclude everybody. You only have a select few. That's the problem. I know Eric will tell you that I don't go to church most of the time, but occasionally I appear. But the Bible and the Quran, my good city, says that calm down, let us discuss. That is the only way we will go. This government must come back to its own people. Listen to what the people want. When people are saying the only solution for us not to die because of hunger, bring subsidies. The government is telling you the only solution, tax. You must pay tax. You must give us, we must give you a house. Who has asked for a house?
Just take a break. 29 to 8. Dunstan Omari is a lawyer. He's our guest this morning. We are looking at the state of the nation in terms of leadership and governance in the country. Take this man somewhere on holiday.
Let's just breathe a little bit.
He's a lawyer.
Because
He earns big money. Take him on business class.
Okay, let's go on business class with Emirates, shall we, Dunstan? It will be fun. As we get closer to holidays, think about where you'd like to go next, and Emirates will take you there. You can make the journey just as incredible as your destination when you treat yourself to Emirates business class. Your holiday will start with a glass of champagne. How about that? We welcome you on board. Welcome, Dunstan. Then you can stretch out in your spacious seat, pick something from your minibar, and recline to your favorite movies and TV shows in the sky. There's even an A380 onboard lounge where you can meet other wakilis in the air. And you can enjoy a cocktail and few canapes with other travelers, look for further business, things like that. Why not? The dining is incredible too. Enjoy delicious dishes from your destination with some fine wines to match. And when you're ready to sleep, do lawyers sleep? You can get a good rest in your fully flat bed. So treat yourself to business class and fly better with Emirates.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga,
not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman. Another man marries trouble. Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It will die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IBC.
You can't.
I told you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite. Opposite. Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice, the only way to start your day.
Sunny conditions at 15 in Nairobi, slightly, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 26. In a sunny Nakuru at 13, it's 14 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 25, and Eldoret at 11. It's sunny with highs of 25. Looking into a cloudy Mombasa at 26, going to highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 31 in a partly sunny Malindi at 26. Kisumu is sunny at 20 with highs of 27, while Kakamega at 17 is sunny. We'll see highs of 28. Out into Kampala, it's cloudy at 19 with highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam will see highs of 30, where it's mostly cloudy at 26. Johannesburg is sunny at 16 with highs of 27, and looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 27, we'll see highs of 32, while at 11, Addis Ababa is sunny with highs of 22 through Friday. It's 26 and cloudy in Lagos with highs of 32, and Kinshasa is mostly cloudy at 25, going to highs of 30. All right, this morning, still heavy on Haile Selassie in and outbound, and some of that traffic is seeping onto Landis this morning. And so the inbound traffic from Landis is quite something. There must have been something that happened there this morning because it is quite packed. Manyanja Road is seeping over through towards Outer Ring and then onto Jogo Road, and so that's a bit messy. Kangunda Road is also starting to look like quite something right about now, and all that traffic feeding in and outbound on Outer Ring. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic then in from Survey is bumper to bumper now. Where it was not, it is. And Kiambu Road, a couple of lanes for now. Hopefully will not get too crazy. But as we look at that construction that's taking place on Limuru Road, coming in from the village market, that's heavy traffic going then towards the city. That looks like what we're dealing with now as we're getting into traffic hour this Friday. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, that it won't get crazier than it is now. We'll talk in the meantime on SpiceFM KE on X.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation
24
Room.
minutes to 8. Our conversation continues with Advocate Dunstan Omari. He's our guest today. We're looking at the state of the country, politically, governance and all. And Wakili is here today. He's projecting feelings of depression, despair, dejection and everything. It's all just looking very gloomy for you. But, and again, I also bring you in here, City. Is this what people are expressing, how people are expressing themselves now, a year after an election? Is this new? Haven't we seen this in all previous elections?
We have.
After a year, there are those who, after the election, felt, they lost the election, and so they were feeling the feeling of anger and loss.
So.
And then there are those who felt that they won the election, and were feeling very optimistic that things were going to get into a certain change in a certain direction. But the reality is, would things really change in that direction within 12 months to a point where those that actually felt so positive would continue that positivity going forward, or would it drop? Look at Kibaki's time, 1 year into it. So the same conversation. The then opposition leader Uhuru Kenyatta actually now standing up to say they are saying that they are fixing the economy. We are just hearing Kibaki's ministers telling us, oh, it was Moi who, they left empty coffers, oh, this and the other. You have a job to do. Uhuru, when he came in, a year down the road, people are just wondering, this bromance story, can you finish the bromance and start working? It was the same kind of, are we not in that?
Of interest, remember the late President Moi, Kibaki's inauguration was not marked with the inauguration only. There are people who held mud
at the late
president's vehicle, held mud. And the Moi must go chant. Hakiwani, with Moi, it didn't even take a year. Say, Moi was actually a better president. This guy, surely. Suddenly, and you saw it, when Moi appeared in public, my goodness.
People would come back and say,
yes. It's like he hit a new high of popularity. But then remember, this is strange. It was interesting because we've never had a president who won an election with the sort of votes Kibaki got. So that man was genuinely popular at that particular. He represented change.
Yes.
Now, President William Ruto and the narrative that his party had were representing the same change. They gave it a twist and a tinge. The haves versus the have-nots. It sold. People liked it. Come in the reality, they're realizing, my goodness, nothing has actually changed. Our situation.
As fast as we are.
Yes, but now let me take you to independence, because this is a story that was told me by my parents. That when we got independence, there are people who actually thought that the white people and everything they owned they would move and leave their property, and Africans would be given. Of course, that didn't happen. What happened was people who were qualified got jobs with the perks and the houses and the positions if you're a civil servant, and that's why civil service was a popular destination for a job in those days. That's what happens. If you don't have the qualifications, You just continue doing what you're doing before. Okay? Now, something that perhaps we haven't quite understood about change. The benefits are never immediate. And part of the reason is because if you look at how we understand progress and development, it has to be ensconced in an individual. Because development is not brought about by government forces, which is what they should. It's a person who brings development. Now, they may not tell you, but when they vote for you, they expect you to give them development. And most times you don't know what they have in mind. But there's something they call development which they want. Now,
personal interpretations of development.
Yes, and how it is represented for most Kenyans is if you have one of your own, a tribesperson of yours, a friend of yours, in a position of authority, then you feel development
has come.
Yeah, because you now know with this person there, and if we can just get there, usually it's not a problem. So we know, and there'll be so and so. He's so and so's cousin. If we just get to this person, our problem will be solved. I think we got this wrong with Kenyatta 1, and we've continued getting it wrong. Because those in leadership have never expressed to us, Kibaki tried, by the way, that this government belongs to you. You, the individual. So you don't need your own person for development to come to you. It'll come to you anyway. CDF tried to represent it. When we brought in the new constitution with the counties, we're now trying to fix and cure it. Whoa, my friend, the counties have become a nightmare. They're worse. It's your own people, it's your own money, and your position is exactly the same. Now, if you build this up, give it time, pepper it a little bit, fry it a little bit, let air get into it, a president comes who is a serious evangelist and tells you stuff. And the words
paints the picture.
He paints the picture in words, and you can see freedom not coming, it's with you here. You can see it. And then you don't see it. And then when you look, you don't see it even more. You will forget that, like Uhuru, who had to contend with the new constitution, which no other president had, this president was contending with a drought. He was contending with all manner of things. Then he was contending with himself and his people and the politics he had brought into being. When this politics got into this situation, my goodness, what our brother and friend Danson is talking about is real, because it's a clash. The reality that this government got in with required some very, very serious toning down and taking a completely different narrative. They began moving their vehicle in gear 5.
But how would you tone down and start changing a narrative against a people whom you've promised many things and who are already demanding? Day 2, after Ruto went to State House, the following morning when he woke up, things had changed. The hustler was waiting for his money. Everybody was waiting for. This is it.
He was, Eric.
Now, how do you start now?
What happens is you've got goodwill. When you come in, you've got goodwill. That's the window when you can actually tell people bad things, and they'll say, okay, you said this, but they need to see. Okay, remember what we saw. There were judges who had been taken back and forth with Uhuru. They said, no, judges ndani. We saw things happening, but that wasn't adequate. There's a president, I think it's called Chakwera. This gentleman who I believe is a man of God, a preacher, bishop. Look at how he came in and he immediately toned down. He spoke and you could see. He was saying, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Let me paint a picture. Imagine if the president had come and said, something, folks, this is a situation we find ourselves in, and my government is actually going to be representative of the dire situation that we are in. Okay? Let's talk of expenditure. Since this office is in the limelight, we are going to look for all government vehicles that have been left, and we are going to try and see if we can revive them. And we mean all. And I am going to use all the vehicles I found here and revive the ones that I have. We are not buying new cars. Statement 1. That one hits you. They did the complete opposite. When you come to State House, if you get tea, it'll be tea, full stop. And maybe some water to drink. He would have set the tone. We all know the tone that was set by this government. That tone was a long rope. And Danson is right. It's now beginning to hang them. Right now, you can't reverse it.
So, Akili, do you think that there are actually things that can be done at this point to salvage what you're calling an already detrimental situation? We're in the furnace, as you say, and things are burning to the ground. Is there something that can be done to save the situation? And what should that be?
If they're listening, and I know they're listening to the Situation Room, there are 4 things that can be done to completely transform the narrative now that is in the country. 1, the president must, and not tomorrow, today, Friday, sack all the incompetent people from cabinet, from positions of power, from positions of decision making, not reshuffling them, not deploying them elsewhere, because they have shown they cannot deliver. Number 2, the president must allow the organs of government created by the Constitution, those are the investigative arms of government, to take up their role. Remember, under Kibaki, taxes were not as much as what President Ruto is now collecting. But there was no coin disappearing, getting lost through corruption under Kibaki. That is why you saw development. This government is collecting almost 10 times.
Wakili, the way we are talking now is the way people were talking in 2003.
But we saw work.
Saying that there is money getting lost. Look at these new ministers, these newbies, these people who were working in the civil society just the other day. And now look at how lavishly they are living. I was pointing to wastage.
They were talking. Kibaki gave the confidence of citizens. Citizens' arrest power came back. People could not bribe anywhere because they would call Kibaki directly. Government officers toned down. The opposite now that we have. There is more money being collected daily, but you don't see any form of development, any form of government services being offered.
What do you mean, any form?
Show us anything. Because when you talk about taxes, you only see the taxes in terms of Kenyans getting services. We saw Kenyans getting services under President Kibaki. We saw Kenyans getting, although mild, services under President Uhuru. This one, they need to show us where they are taking the money. The third issue is that the president needs to sit and work. Work means sitting behind a microphone as a journalist, as a news anchor. Read the news. If you are not here, the Situation Room cannot be heard. In my village in Nyamira, the president has turned to be a tourist. And Kenyans are concerned that when do you sit and understand what is going? The president is an absent president. Third, the president seems to be ignoring very critical questions. President Ruto was handed over power by President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he was given Uganda as a trade partner. We have been trading with Uganda since time immemorial. Under the watch of the president, Uganda has moved to Tanzania. The impact on the economy of this country, all those towns from Mombasa.
Which Uganda has moved to Tanzania?
They are now using the Central Corridor. Parliament of Uganda passed a law to use Dar es Salaam as their port. The net effect on this country in the next 1 year, you will understand that things are bad. Uhuru saw this, negotiated with Museveni, and said, Museveni, let us give you an inland port at Maimayu. Don't move away. The first thing the President of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Ruto did is to revert many of the economic policies that had been captured in Vision 2030 by bringing a slogan called bottom up. So unless we go back to the Vision 2030, We are now bragging that we have Somalia. Don't worry, we can lose Uganda. We have Somalia. That's why I say those are cabinet people who have no clue the importance of Uganda in the country here.
I think that's not, and that's why I started that conversation by saying sometimes we pick on small anthills, magnify them into volcanic mountains, and cloud out everything else. For example, saying that Uganda has moved, it hasn't. Yes, Parliament has passed that, but also Uganda had indicated that we're not going to use our pipeline. Would you say that Uhuru had also lost Uganda, the Uganda that Kibaki had given him?
We are judging; those will be judged.
It's because there's an activity, there's an event that's taking place here. What's a bigger picture? Would you say that is then the state of the country? That this is it. We have lost because the cabinet of Uganda sat and talked about oil importation and looking at options, and therefore we've lost because...
Can I give you a perspective?
Yeah.
If somebody, we normally call them tin...
City, where are you? What happened to your mic?
It's in front of my face.
Very good. Now.
Okay. We talk about the lenses through which we see things. If you are happy with someone or you are fond of them, you will easily excuse the things they do. Or you'll find reason to explain it away. If you're unhappy with someone, even when they smile at you, you'll say, why is this person snarling at me? And the person is actually smiling. The disappointment is a factor of expectations. Okay? And if you listen to the president, we're talking about President William Ruto, I listen and I feel this man actually wants to do good. I'm telling you my thoughts. He actually means what he's saying. But to connect what he wants to do and say and what he's actually doing, so you ask, what is the competing interest? And the competing interest is what we're discussing here. You appoint certain people. The competencies I'm not going to go into. And suddenly, things which ordinarily would appear to be straightforward, because the darling example I like is this issue of the airport. Why is the minister directing people to build the roof in the airport? And you have the Kenya Airports Authority.
Different levels.
No, I'm asking, why is he going to inspect the Diani airport when there are people who are supposed to do that? His job is to cut ribbons.
Because Omari expects him to.
Precisely.
That's what Omari is judging as the competence of a minister.
Now, you see...
If the minister just sat back and, he was talking directly to the board of the Kenya Airports Authority, and the Kenya Airports Authority board was then dealing with the MD, and you don't hear the minister, Omari would be here saying, these ministers, the airport is leaking. Do you even hear? Do they even know?
Eric, that is precisely it, because the ministers have an opportunity. This is an example.
Yes.
The ministers have an opportunity to show what it is to run and manage a ministry. Okay? Now, from what I learned, we talk of Kibaki, what I learned from Kibaki and Kenyatta one, you don't really see them.
Yeah.
You don't even hear them. But man, things get done.
You are seeing results.
You will talk and talk and talk and talk. We always talk, and you're right. But things get done.
Eventually.
You saw them.
Yes.
Kenyatta one jailed ministers, jailed MP, jailed. And I am told the joke is the duties they were given were to cut grass at State House so that you could see them in the morning. And probably when he was having tea, would tell them, see, there are people he knew. So and so, come, let's drink tea.
But, Wakili, I'm still on that issue here. And I'm saying, even when a fire is burning, there are certain things that you must do to either put out the fire or to reduce the severity of the damage that the fire will cause. And you started this off by saying that there's a fire and things are burning down. And those who've been given the positions of authority seem to not be sure how to put this fire out. But I think that we should be solution giving in a lot of the criticisms that we make. And because we say they're listening, you can take a cue from one or two things. And I'm still back to, what would we have the executive do beyond lining up a firing squad and saying, get out of office? Beyond that, what would we say ought to be done?
Simple. The city started with, was it a proverb?
Yes.
Let me go proverbial. The Nigerians have a story of a person who was going to get married. He bought a very expensive suit. He left the suit, went to collect the shoes. When he came back, he found the rat had eaten that suit.
Must have been gone for a while.
No,
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So he started looking for that rat for
Nigerian
2-3
rats
days.
are fast.
Then one day, when he's coming back, he found his house on fire, burning. And running out of that inferno is that rat. He left the water can he was carrying, took up a machete, started chasing the rat. He ended up killing the rat, came back singing that I've taught this idiot a lesson, only to find the whole house is burned completely. That is the government of Kenya.
Okay.
It is no. It has not.
Who is the rat?
It has not known that Uhuru left. It is busy looking at those guys who ate my suit and lamenting. The answer is simple. And you asked me, my good sister, the solution is one: stop talking, sit, keep the flights to carry tourists, remain in office, get work done, own up that the instruments of government are in the hands of the current government. Liabilities of loans to China to where must be paid by the government that is in place. Let them sit and work. It will not be, the solution is simple. Work with practical realities. Stop providing every day new promises. Stop every day the excessive spending that we are seeing. You do not say, I'm poor, but by conduct and implication, you are spending on lavishes. This country has no money. That one you know. But this country is spending on issues. Every day we are seeing a lot of expenditure that Kenyans are asking, is this relevant? Are we really poor? City has asked, we have imported or bought new cars to everybody. The convoys that are the entourages is terrible. You see, when the president goes to COP meeting and he's carrying more than 600 Kenyans, for what?
Was it 600?
To Dubai?
Yeah.
To Dubai? 700. And nowadays,
State
all
House released a
meetings,
statement and said
Said
there
it
were
was not 700, yeah.
whatever it
Said they
is,
were 50.
nowadays, the digital era will proceed with any meeting virtually. What is the role of carrying people physically?
So you're saying, Wakili, just do your work, do your job.
Let them do their job, but they must have the capacity to understand that job. Put people who understand what the job entails and allow them to work.
What if they understand their work, but they're not being allowed to work?
The president the other day, when he was addressing citizens, he said he's shocked that some of his cabinet ministers do not understand their job. He understands more of what happens in state departments than them.
But what does that tell you?
That tells you that either one, he's micromanaging completely everything against Kibaki principle. Delegated power, authority to run the country. Or two, he has accepted that the people he gave the jobs have no capacity and he's running the ministries himself.
I think the president just ought to realize the reality. In my opinion, it's just showing him, do not bring outsiders to run government. When there have been people in government who understand, he understands it because he has been in government. He would understand State Department because he's been in government for a long time. But now you've brought in a new PS. Well, sure,
you see, the president runs away and says he was never in government. For the 10 years under Jubilee, he was a passenger.
It's not 10 years.
According to him, all the blames he's saying, I was sidelined. Which means the president is admitting that the office of the deputy president, he never did any job there. Is he admitting
He wasn't assigned a job?
He was never assigned a job, and therefore it is now that he's learning everything?
Wakili, you come again. Okay. Don't leave until 10:15 like this, huh? Ndio tuone kama tunaweza tutatoka safely.
The defense will never arrest.
Okay.
They will arrest, we will release you.
Very
Don't
good.
worry about it.
Keep it here for more conversations in the next hour. Good morning, it's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu has dismissed claims by Azimio leader Raila Odinga that there was an exam printing contract that was cancelled. Appearing before the Education Parliamentary Committee, Machogu said that the national examinations printing tenders are awarded annually and they follow due process. Machogu further revealed that a forensic audit on the 2023 KCPE results was ongoing and would be made public on completion.
I did specifically indicate the terms of reference when I did a letter to the CS ICT because they are competent in that area. They have experts, and really where we had a problem was not in the entire exam as such. We only had a problem on data transmission, and that's why I want answers on that. He has been able to appoint a team. The team has not been able to complete the work as given in our terms of reference, and immediately the report is out, I will be able to share that particular information with this particular committee honorable chairperson and also with the Kenyans so that they can be able to know what really happened.
The Kenya National Examination Council says it has received 1,043 KCPE results complaints. Appearing before a parliamentary committee, CEO David Nyeri said they managed to correct errors for more than 800 candidates who are content with the changes. Nyeri said the correction process is made possible through the creation of a special panel that's handling the complaints. Education PS Bailey Kipsang on his part says cases of exam malpractices reduced as they applied strict measures during the transportation and distribution of exam papers.
Scripts are transported under tight security from the warehouses to the containers and from the containers to the schools. And therefore the risk of early exposure is further reduced by the center managers collecting examination materials daily from the container. They collect in person and are responsible for their safety. Again, Chair, they are escorted by our security officers, and the enhanced responsibility and roles of center managers in examination administration ensures effectiveness of examination administration.
The National Council of Churches of Kenya has challenged the move to create the positions of Chief Administrative Secretaries. According to the Council's General Secretary, Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui, the move will be ill-timed considering the current state of the economy. The Council now wants Parliament to suspend the process of considering the National Government Administration Laws Amendment Bill, which seeks to, among others, regularize the CAS role.
The Treasury is saying the country is broke. We should not be seeing creation of additional positions for a few so that they can earn salaries and allowances. So we would ask and urge Parliament and all the state officers involved in that initiative to shelve it until when Kenya is able to pay its obligations both in terms of debt and in terms of providing services to Kenyans. We still believe that there is no taxation without representation. So we must live within our means, and we must stop the theft, and we must all work together.
Nairobi Revenue Service, a system used by Nairobi County to collect revenue, is controlled by a mysterious man. This is according to Chief Officer Tyrus Wainaina. He said the man, only known to him as Njoroge, is the system developer behind NRS. More shocking is that no one from Governor Johnson Sakaja's administration has ever met Njoroge since they assumed power last year. Wainaina made the revelation during an ad hoc committee session chaired by Majority Leader Peter Imwatok. The committee was tasked to investigate the unexplained drop in revenue collection despite the presence of NRS. He said he had only communicated with Njoroge through the ICT ministry, while Ednah said this in response to Imotok's question on where NRS offices are located. And the Nyeri County Assembly has suspended its sittings for 2 months to allow ward representatives to go on a long holiday for Christmas and New Year. The Speaker of Parliament, Okoh, congratulated the ward representatives for showing tenacity and contributing and approving various bills during the debates and their sessions this year. Just like the parliamentarians, the county parliament are also expected to go on vacation until February.
Honourable members, this Honourable House is set to break for a long recess till Tuesday, 12th February 2024. Honourable members, as we break for the long holidays, I wish at this earliest opportunity to sincerely appreciate you for the expeditious processing of various pieces of legislation.
They say it is the season, Christmas is around the corner. Happy holidays to you. I'm Dennis Aseda. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, well, a busy Friday morning, but nothing too crazy. A little bit of traffic that's building up on the Thika Superhighway coming into the CBD, and some of that then also coming off of Waiyaki Way into Westlands, and also busy on Limuru Road, just in bits. But traffic is not too crazy to contend with this morning. Gong Road also busy. We're looking at the other side of things, where it started very early with traffic, and this was coming off of Landis going towards Kamkunji at the roundabout and then onto Haile Selassie. That has increased now, and we're bumper to bumper on Landis, and it looks like it's going to be there for some time. It's all right on the southern bypass, and as we look then at Cabanas going towards North Airport Road is where we see some traffic having started to develop around this hour. It's also busy then getting onto Outer Ring, and that's bumper to bumper. So Cabanas through to Outer Ring at the junction, out then towards the Embakasi junction. That's all very busy right about now. So eyes up, let's see what happens there as we get through into traffic hour. Let's talk Spice FM KE on X and keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
How are you doing?
The
Welcome
only
to the
way to...
of The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Everybody who's joining us online, on YouTube and Facebook, and also participating in conversations via the hashtag, The Situation Room on X. Asante Sana. And yes, we see you. Everybody who's tuned in on Spice FM across the country, Karibu Pia, and also those who are watching us on KTN Home. We are glad that you're watching. Tomorrow is Saturday. There's a company called Username Investments, and Username Investments is a real estate development company. They have a new project in Nakuru at Salga. It's called Delight in Nakuru. As you head out of Nakuru, heading towards Kericho, you get to Salga. At Salga, you see where the cops usually are?
Yep.
On the right, there's a road that branches off to the right. About 300 meters, if you go on that road, you will find a gate. It will be written Delight Nakuru. You can get into that gate and find the people there and ask them, Hii ndio ile ya username, and they'll tell you yes. They are saying, come, let's build a new community here. Remember, Nakuru is now a city, and that means that the population of Nakuru will be growing, and more people will be seeking to live in the outskirts and the suburbs of Nakuru. Nakuru cannot develop this side of the lake. It has only one. These are the sides that are left. So go there. Into Salga, 1/8 of an acre, 799,000 shillings. Tomorrow and Wednesday they have open days and they're organizing site visits and taking you there. You congregate at Kencom at 7 a.m. or at Westside Mall in Nakuru at 8:30 a.m. To book your seat on that bus, SMS the word Nakuru to 20321. Nakuru 20321. And don't worry, if people fill up one bus, they have a second. 2 buses full, they have a third.
Yeah.
Buses are many in this country. And there's no road that says you can only have one bus. So do like that. Do like that. We get into another conversation now. 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And we said, when do the 16 days begin?
On the 25th of November until Human Rights Day, which is the 10th of December.
10th of December. That is this Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Allah. So this will be the end of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
Yeah.
Now, to have the conversation with us in the studio, we're joined by 2 ladies. Siti has stepped out. You know what Siti does? Siti is, now he has gone with Dan Sanomari. I don't know to do what, to start paying him pesa ya kufungua file.
Secure the future.
Yes. Mary Njoki is a Groots Kenya Nairobi coordinator and a GBV responder. She's our guest in the studio, alongside Pacifica Ongecha, who's also Groots Kenya Kiambu coordinator and GBV responder. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
We'll be talking about gender-based violence and what Groots Kenya does and what it means that when we say that you are GBV responders. But to welcome you to the conversation, I'm going to give you the day's proverb. Siti usually has the day's proverb. You met Siti as you were going out. He's stepped into another meeting. But the proverbs this week have been from the country of Eritrea. And today's proverb is, dreamers remember their dreams when they are in trouble. Dreamers remember their dreams when they're in trouble. Pacifica, what is your interpretation of that proverb?
Of course. The interpretation from my perspective is that when you get into trouble, that is when you start imagining of the things that you've ever thought about that they would come to be. That is my interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that is really it, because...
You don't think that's it? It doesn't make sense to you?
It doesn't.
Why? Because the way you've interpreted it is how you've heard it and how you've then connected it to reality as you see it. Dreamers will remember dreams when they're in trouble.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, you're never wrong, Pacifica. Don't worry. Mary, what's your interpretation of it?
Nafikiri mimi ndaongea lugha ya Kiswahili juu mahali nafanya kazi ni grassroots kwa hapa Nairobi. Nafanya kazi kule chini mashinani na ninafanya kazi kwa kijiji, kwa vijiji zetu za Nairobi. Na ninafikiri kazi zile tunafanya ni kazi mzuri, lakini ni kazi iko na risk hizi za GVV. Na kazi zetu nafikiri umeniuliza swali,
hiyo ni methali.
Ni mizari.
Methali inasema dreamers remember their dreams when they're in trouble.
Mizari.
Wale ambao wanaota watakumbuka hizo ndoto watapokuwa taabani.
Nafikiri watakumbuka sababu kulingana na ile kazi mmewafanyia mkiwa pale. Kwa mtu atakaa hata kama atatoka hapa aende pale pengine atakumbuka kuna mahali alifanyiwa jambo na akasaidika.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya. Tell us about Groots Kenya. What you do? Unafanya kazi katika vitongoji vya Nairobi.
Yes.
Mitaa gani na gani na gani?
Vitongoji za Nairobi niko na mtaa unaitwa Mathare. Niko na vijiji ni mingi. Sijui nichukue zote. Niko na Mathare, niko na Mathare North, niko na Muradi, kijiji naitwa Muradi, niko na Mabatini, niko na Area 4, niko na Matopeni, niko na Damsite. Hizo zote na sifanyi peke yangu, tunafanya tukiwa mama wengi. Lakini mimi
unafanya kazi gani hasa?
Kazi yangu ni GVV. Tunaangalia kudhulumiwa kwa wamama, watoto na hata wengine wakiwa wamedhulumiwa, pia sisi tunahusika.
Kivipi?
Yes. Tunahusika kwa kusaidia, labda mtu amechapwa. Amechapwa na hajui ataenda wapi. Sisi tuko pale tumwelekeze hospitali, tuko hapo tumwelekeze kwa polisi, ndio andikishe OB. Kama kuna watu wako hapo karibu wamsaidie, tumsaidie kwenda kwa polisi, andike OB, tufuatilie hizo kesi.
Tuseme mtu amechapwa.
Yes.
Tuchukue kama example. Mtu akichapwa atakujaje kwa Mary?
Mtu akichapwa atakujaje kwa Mary?
Atajuaje kuna Mary ambaye anaweza nipatia usaidizi?
Kuna watu wetu wako kwa community wa mama wale wengine, sifanyi kazi peke yangu. Tuna wamama wengine na tuna mawasiliano ya simu. Kwa mfano kitu imefanyika Mabatini. Mary, kuna jambo limefanyika hapa, mama amechapwa na ako nje na ameumizwa. Jambo la kwanza, kama ni usiku, kuna ambulance zinatusaidia sana za MSF. Hizo ndio ninachukua jukumu ya kupiga haraka. Ndio isaidie ule mama au kolewe pale apelekwe kwa hospitali. Baada ya kutoka hospitali, ile hospitali ni nzuri sababu inatuandikia mpaka medical report. Na tunaenda nayo mpaka police station, near police station. Sana tukiwa upande wa Mabatini tunaendaga Pangani. Tukiwa upande wa Mathare tunaendaga Muthaiga police station. Tunaenda na maeneo ya polisi vile iko. Na tunasaidia huyo mama na tunaanza kufuatilia kesi vile ilivyo. Yes.
Pacifica.
Yes.
So broadly, what does Groots Kenya do?
Groots Kenya, can I briefly do an introduction of what Groots Kenya?
Yes.
So that the listeners can get to understand what Groots Kenya does.
Yes.
Groots Kenya is a national movement of grassroots women. So it brings together women who are organize themselves in community-based organizations, self-help groups. So we work together to work along the development agendas that are within our communities. And of course, it's important to mention that Groots Kenya started in 1995 after the Beijing meeting that happened in China. And Groots Kenya started after realizing that the voices of the grassroots women were not being heard. So it brought together the women, the grassroots women, so that they can speak for the agenda they have for the grassroots. They can speak it for themselves. So we bring it together, the women, organize them so that they can air their views. The women, the grassroots agencies can be heard and acted upon. So we organize these women and they can speak for themselves. So what we normally do as Groots Kenya, we go out there and advocate for development agenda within our communities. That is how we work. We go into public participation. We air our views. We go into public barazas, chief barazas, and speak about the work, everything, every development agenda within our communities. For instance, I come from Kiambu. Anytime there is anything within Kiambu, anytime there is a budget process, anytime there is CIDP, anytime there is any development agenda within my community, I will ensure I have organized the women in Kiambu in the different sub-counties so that they come out in big numbers, go and give their needs for their various regions within Kiambu. They speak about them and they are captured into the government systems. So basically, that is what we do. But as an organization, we have programs which we work within. Yeah.
Yes.
So we work along these programs, but we ensure that our voices are heard. Basically, that is how we work.
How are the women organized? Is it in small groups? Is it in chamas? Is it independent women organization that then affiliate with Groots Kenya?
I mentioned that we work with women that are in self-help groups and community-based organizations. So we organize them so that they get into groups because it is easier to work with them when they're in self-help groups other than working with individuals. So in every region, they organize themselves in self-help groups or as community-based organization. Then they come into the ward level. You will realize there's a ward coordinator. Then they come into the sub-county. We have a sub-county coordinator. Then into the county, into the national level. So our agendas will be formulated from the grassroots level, then come up at the ward level into the sub-county, into the county, because the agendas that you have to go and you have to go and talk to them, talk at the county level. So you have to have organized yourself at the county level. But for you to get to the county, you have to have started at the village level, because then you will have informed what is happening at the county will have been informed, but what is at the villages within the specific county. Yes.
So looking at the work that Groots has done over years, I mean, of course, being involved in development, being involved in public participation, being involved in budgets, because obviously this fuels agenda. Looking at GBV, this is a support mechanism, right?
Yes.
How exactly is Groots then involved in making sure, like Mary has talked about, the support for women who have been abused, for obviously the rising cases that we've seen of sexual abuse amongst young girls and younger women and boys as well? How are those community groups then involved in this area?
Of course, as I mentioned, we have 5 working pillars. The 5th pillar is which talks about gender injustice. We have, as an organization, for this pillar to work well, we have recruited our women who are responders, women who are passionate, because for every program, we have champions of a specific program. So we have champions, including me and Mary, who are champions of gender-based violence. So what we did, our women who are champions of gender-based violence have been taken through training, capacity building to understand the integrities of gender-based violence. How are you supposed to respond? What is the protocol? When you realize there is anything about GBV within your community, what would you do? What action are you supposed to take? And when you take this action, who are the people you're supposed to incorporate to ensure that you get justice? So once they're taken through this, they know that when I get a case within my community, when I respond, this is a case I can go and see the chief. This is a case I can first of all go and report to the police. This is a case that I first of all need to rush to the hospital because this person is bleeding. We need to go and get some first aid. Arrest the bleeding, then we can go and now get an OB, then we can follow up the protocol of how we can get justice. So we have champions within the community who have been trained and they respond. And they were trained because we realize they're passionate about GBV, because Groots does not pay the women champions. They are volunteers within the community. And for you to be a champion within Groots Kenya, they identify you because you already have something you're doing for your community. So they bring you in so that you become part and parcel of the movement. Yeah, so that is how we work. And once you're trained, you need now then to you collaborate with the other stakeholders within your community. You need to collaborate with the health people. You need to collaborate with the police. For instance, I am the GBV coordinator for Groots Kenya nationally, and of course within Kiambu County. So I have the contacts of all the police OCSs within Kiambu. I have the contact of the county commander, so that anytime we have a case that we need attention, I will call them. And if there is our responders within the sub-counties also have contacts of the OCSs within their community. So they will always call for help. They have contacts of the health people. So we have that network, so that in case we have any cases of GBV, we are collaborating well.
Okay.
Yes.
How have we seen, Mary, and you Kiswahili still, that's fine. How have we seen cases reducing over time in the areas where you're a champion, if we have, or have they been increasing? Cases of gender-based violence.
Nafikiri kutoka tuanze hii mambo ya kuenda kuhamasisha watu habari ya GVV na community, kuwaelimisha habari ya GVV, nafikiri tunaenda tukipunguza sababu kila mtu anaelewa kupigana si vizuri, kufanyana dhuluma si vizuri, sababu kama kuna mmoja, kwa mfano tumechukua kesi moja iko kotini, na kama iko kotini, kwa ile community wanaogopa kesi. Yani kila mtu anasema sasa tukianza hii mambo ya kupigana, tunaanza process, tunaharibu kazi zetu za kawaida za kila maana kila mara tunakuwa tukitembea kotini. Kwa hivyo hata makanisani tumejaribu kuongelesha watu kwa majumuiya zetu, kwa makanisa zetu, na pia kwa nafasi pale mbele naeleza habari ya hii mambo ya GVV. Ndio wale watu tunashiriki nao wanaenda kwa community, wanaeleza habari ya kupigana si mzuri, habari ya kudhulumiana si mzuri. Tukiwa pale kwa community, mara nyingi tuko kwa hizo merry-go-round, tunaeleza wamama wenzetu kupigana si kuzuri, na vita si kitu kitafanya sisi tuendelee mbele. Sasa watu kwa community wameanza kujua vita si mzuri, na kila mara utapoteza wakati wako kwenda kotini, kila mara utapoteza wakati wako kwenda kutoa ushahidi kotini. Sasa hizo vitu zinafanya kesi zinapungua.
Sasa zinapungua kwa sababu watu hawataki kupelekwa kotini.
Si ati sababu watu hataki kupelekwa kotini, sababu ya muda wao hawataki wapoteze kwa hizo makesi, kupigana, kutukanana. Hizo pia ni dhulma, na watu wameona hizo si vitu za kawaida, si vitu mzuri tukiendelea na hizo vitu kama vita. Yani community kae salama.
Kwa
moja, nasema kwa wiki tulikuwa tunachukua kesi karibu 4, na kwa sasa hata saa zingine hakuna kesi. Azikui sababu tunaona tunafunza mafunzo yani watu wanaielewa. Watu wanaelewa hizi vitu hazifai kwa community yetu.
Nikuulize, unatafsiri vipi GBV ukiongea na watu kwa community? Unawaambia GBV ni nini?
GBV tunawaambia GBV ni tuseme lugha zetu pale ni kupigana. Kupigana inaletwa na nini? Sababu ya vita, sababu ya watu kupigana pale labda mtu hana kazi, mke hana kazi, mume hana kazi, hiyo nyumba haiwezi kadika. Sababu huyu anahitaji. Matokeo itakuwa nini pale kwa nyumba? Wewe hujafanya. Ikiwa sasa tukileta hizo vitu, wakileta pamoja, inaanza kuwa kama ugombi. Ugombi ikikuwa inakuwa nini? Inakuwa vita. Vita ikikuwa inakuwa nini? Hospitali. Hospitali inakuwa nini? Polisi. Polisi inakuwa nini? Kotini. Vitu kama hizo vitu zinatakiwa tu zinaanzia pale kwa nyumba.
Na sasa ukiwaambia ndio waache hapo, waache ugomvi kwa nyumba, ndio wasielekee kupigana kwa nyumba, ndio wasiende kwa hizo vitu zote mpaka kotini. Unafikiri wanaacha kwa nini? Wanaacha kwa sababu
nimewaambia.
Umewaambia?
Si wawachi sababu nimewaambia kila mtu anajituma mwenyewe. Tunasemaga anajituma. Kama ulikuwa ufanyi kazi unajaribu kufanya, unaambia mama chukua hata njugu karanga enda uuze. Mzee enda mjengo. Hizi maneno zote hazitakuwa kwa nyumba. Sababu sasa kila mtu ako na shughuli, wewe uko na shughuli, jioni mnakuja, mnapata kaunga, mnakula, mnalala, kesho mnaamkia kazi zingine. Mnaenda hivyo, maisha inaendelea na vita zinapungua. Si ati naambiaga msipigane, ni mpaka mtu ajitume kwa kazi.
Pacifica.
Of course, I would want to say we have played a role in reducing the cases. Of course, they are still there, but we have played a role because people have realized that it has become a community responsibility. Because initially, people would engage in gender-based violence in the community and nobody is bothering. It was like it is a chief's responsibility. It was like it is the police responsibility. But when they realize that there are people within the community that are taking a responsibility, that they're coming in to respond and taking an initiative to ensure that they're reducing these cases, to ensure that they're creating awareness and sensitization within the community, then they realize that, yes, this is something that we as a community need to fight together. We need to unite together and raise awareness and so that we reduce these cases. So that has played a role in bringing down the cases. It has become a responsibility for the community. And like my colleague has mentioned, you realize when these cases come up, it is the community who are now calling you. And like in the past, they would watch and nobody is taking action. But nowadays, we get calls from within the community. They will raise alarm and tell you, no, this cannot go on. So that tells you there's that community consciousness on the need to reduce the cases, to end gender-based violence within our communities. So that has really helped. But we are not saying it is over. We still need to continue going further to raise a lot of awareness. We still need, because in the past, when we started this, most of the people did not even know that if you're violated, how you can go about cases. We've done a lot of work to give the knowledge to our people on when you're violated, what is it you need to do. Some people used to keep quiet. When you tell them about, yes, you have the right, the Constitution covers you, you have a right to report and you can get justice. Many people would say, Mimi, see, I did not know. I did not know that if somebody does this to me, if somebody abuses me, that I can go to the courts and get justice. I did not know that if somebody, for the women, somebody would say, even I did not know that if my husband wants to go to bed to me, wants to have sex with me, I have to give him a consent. They did not know. So some of these things people are getting to know, and when they know, they become ambassadors. The good thing is that the community itself is also that we have gotten a lot of ambassadors within the community. Even some of the survivors that we have rescued have become ambassadors within the community, which is really positive and encouraging.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. We continue this conversation shortly. 8:30. Kenya's biggest conversation today is marking 16 days of activism, addressing injustices against women and girls in our communities. We're joined by two ladies. Mary Njoki is a Groots Kenya Nairobi coordinator and a GBV responder with Groots Kenya, and Pacifica Ongecha, Groots Kenya Kiambu coordinator. You're also saying national coordinator as well as Kiambu coordinator and a GBV responder. Back shortly. Ndu, flyers to a holiday destination.
Let's go with children this time, shall we? And most times when you're starting off on holiday, you ask yourself, will we be able to get everything that the kids need and getting all of that on board as well? And you ask yourself, all right, so who's going to take care of all of those things? Well, Emirates says there's so much to think about, but remembering where you put all of your children's items and the things that they need for a long flight should not be of any concern to you, because when it comes to the flight, Emirates has taken care of everything. Are they a fussy eater? You don't have to worry about that. Do you need to keep them occupied? All the channels that are available for you on flight for you to do that. And you can even have a movie night for the family in the skies. It's non-stop fun all the way on board with toys that they can enjoy too. You do really get so much more when you travel with Emirates. Fly better with Emirates.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Aina Moi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Aina Moi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody wants to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, this morning, sunny conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 26 and then coming down to lows of 15. Out in Nakuru, it's cloudy at 16, and we'll also see cloudy conditions coming in from Eldoret at 13 degrees. And in Nyeri this morning, it's 16 degrees. 26 in Kisumu, and we'll see highs of 29. And currently 17 degrees in Kakamega, going to highs of 28. Mombasa is cloudy at 26, and we'll see highs of 29. We'll also see highs of 29 in a cloudy Malindi, currently at 26 as well. Into Kampala, cloudy conditions at 23, and we'll see highs of 29 today. Dar es Salaam at 27, with Johannesburg currently at 17, and looking at Mogadishu already at 28 degrees, and out into Addis Ababa currently 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 30 in Lagos today and highs of 31 in Kinshasa.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so traffic coming in on the Thika Superhighway is still just a little bit heavy as you're coming in from Survey, heading out then towards the Pangani Underpass. Mombasa Road has done really well today. Very little traffic as you head out into the city. As you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, you won't see too much. You'll be able to get through past Capital Centre. There's just a little bit of a hitch. But then getting onto Uhuru Highway, you'll find some traffic in and out as you get towards the junction going out to Westlands. Also, Limuru Road is now when we're starting to see that build up. It's going to continue for some time because we are in traffic hour. And then coming off of United Nations Avenue, that's heavy, coming out then into the CBD. So it will probably not last too long, but there are little areas here and there where you will find pockets of traffic, but it's all manageable for now. Let's keep it just so. Spread the word should you run into a tight spot, and let folks know what may be ahead. And we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Our conversation continues with the two ladies in the studio. Before then, what's your plan for the weekend? Are you heading towards Western Kenya this weekend? Are you passing by Nakuru? Well, you can also drop by Salga at this new development called Delight in Nakuru by Username Investments. If you're heading there, you will get to Salga, which is just about 20 minutes from Nakuru, before you start the incline towards Sachangwan. At Salga itself, 300 meters to the right, you will then find a gate. It's written Delight in Nakuru. This is a new development. They're saying, come and let us build a community here. Nakuru is a city. How about we start building a suburb in Salga? SMS the word Nakuru to 20321. That's Nakuru to 20321. And they'll call you back. You can organize how you can just pop by on your way to or from Western Kenya. Our guests this morning are Mary Njoki, Groots Kenya Nairobi Coordinator and GBV Responder, Pacifica Ongecha, Groots Kenya National and Kiambu Coordinator and GBV Responder. No.
So, I mean, it's interesting, Pacific, because you talk about Groots as champions and people in the community having worked to relieve a lot of the pressure that we see that comes from gender-based violence, right? Which agencies do you work with? Because obvious that this work that's so heavy cannot be done by just groups in the community. So who are we looking at here that you work with that has seen the results that have been achieved over the years and that you hope to work with into the future?
Thank you. GPV, I would mention, is not something that you can do alone. And as an organization, anytime we are starting anything, we normally bring all the concerned stakeholders on board so that we kick off together. So when we started the program about GBV, we brought the necessary stakeholders that range from the chiefs, the Nyumba Kumi elders, the police, the health sector, the judiciary, the children's office, the youth office, the elders, the church elders, the cultural elders. We brought them all on board and we had a conversation just to agree on how best we can work and network. So we had a conversation on everyone's position and how well we can work. So as we started this work, we are on the same page and we have continually worked together. And it has really helped us because as a responder who is a volunteer and I rescue somebody and I go to the police today and maybe the police starts taking me round and round, I will get demoralized.
Yes.
And I can lose hope and let go. But because of the working relationship and the coordination we have as a Groots Kenya champion, when I go to a police station today, the police officer sees me there, she knows this is a responder, and I will be asked, Pacifica, how can we help you? Because most of the time we go there because we are going there to help people who have been, we are people, as the survivors, we've gotten on our ground. So we have collaborated well. We have networked with the health people. Today, if I go to Kiambu Hospital, if I go to Tigoni Hospital, which is in my area in Limuru, I live in Limuru. If I walk to Tigoni Hospital, I will get the clinical officer there who is in charge of GBV in our gender-based working technical working group. They will offer me assistance. They will help the person. If there are P3s that need to be filled, they will help. So that collaboration has really helped us to advance the GBV issues within our community. And we work hand in hand. Anytime I call, and because we are normally called even at night, anytime I make a call and I want to record this here on studio, anytime I call the OCS Limuru, even if it's at midnight and past midnight, my phone does not ring twice. because they know I don't call them at midnight to give them stories. I call them because I have a distress call most of the time.
What are some of these calls? And I think both of you here, what is the nature? Because I think it is important. What is the nature of some of these calls that come? Because obviously it's something that is rampant. When somebody calls with a complaint and says, look, Pacific and Mary, I'm in trouble, what has normally happened at that point?
What's the most prevalent form of GBV
of violence that we are seeing?
Okay, most of the time, sometimes you're called, a woman has been battered by the husband, mostly at night. Mostly at night. You're called when a woman has been beaten, she has been battered by the husband. You need to go and rescue her from her house. Sometimes you're called that there are children who have been defiled. You need to go and rescue them. Yeah, mostly those are the cases. Sometimes you're called that there are children who have been who have gone through female genital mutilation. Yes. Yeah. In Kiambu, yes.
Are there many cases of rape?
Yes, there's so many.
Of adult rape?
Rape.
Not children.
Defilement. Yes. There are cases of rape also. Yes. But it ranges on the timing. Mostly at night.
Night will be physical violence at home.
Domestic violence at night. Yes.
Okay.
But it ranges, yeah.
Is it the same in Nairobi?
Hata Nairobi tuko tu ni kama kitu moja. Ni kitu moja tu yote. Yote inafanyika tu ni the same zote. Sababu vita ikitokea vile mwenzangu anasema watu wa kwanza kurescue pale ni watoto. Maana hatujui baba kama anaweza chukua panga aanze kukatakata watoto. Kitu ya kwanza ukifika na ufiki peke yako, ondoeni watoto. Hiyo ndio kitu ya kwanza. Kitu ya pili ni umeuliza mambo ya rape ni mingi. Imeongezeka na tuna rekodi zetu iko pale NSF. Pale ambulance zetu ziko, maana hiyo usiku ikifanyika, hiyo ndio kitu ya kwanza tunaita hiyo gari. Na hao ndio wanatusaidia. Hata tuwe wapi, hata tuwe pale ndani kabisa, bora tu umewapigia simu, gari inafika hapo mara moja, na saa hizo tunakuwa tushapiga police station. Kuna kitu imefanyika mahali fulani, tafadhali tusaidieni na ofisa wafike wapi? Wafike hapa, maana hapa kuna giza, ni mahali kuna giza pale. Kuna giza na hatuwezi toka na huyu mama peke yetu. Manake hatujui huyu mtu amesaraundiwa na watu wagani, labda ni watu majambazi, hatujui kama ni watu wanaweza kutudhuru sisi wenyewe, manake pia maisha yetu inakuwaga kwa hatari saa hizo usiku. Unajua mchana unaona kila mtu, lakini usiku uoni, kumejaa giza pale kwetu, vijiji zetu nyingi ziko na giza. Na nashukuru OCS Muthaiga wale askari wako round wanafikaga hapo mara moja. Manake kitu ya kwanza upigia askari, unapigia mkubwa wao OCS. OCS wanaamurisha, wanafika pale, pia wanatusaidia kushika kama huyo jamaa kwa hapo anashikwa naenda police station. Akitoka police station sisi tunaenda hospitali. Tukitoka hospitali tunaingia police station na tunaandikisha ripoti. Kazi yetu inakuaga hiyo sana usiku.
Kwa hivyo uhusiano baina ya community na polisi na hospitali ama vituo vya afya uko juu. Uhusiano
uko juu sababu
community inafurahia kazi ambayo polisi wanafanya.
Sisi tunafurahia kazi ile polisi anafanya, sababu ukipiga simu mara moja wanaingia hapo. Maana kazi ya rape si kazi rahisi vile. Si kazi rahisi hivyo. Ni mpaka tuhusishe watu wote, na unajua sasa hizo labda ni usiku, unahusisha serikali ni huyo OCS anatupatia maaskari, tunakuja, huyo mama anarescue, tunapeleka hospitali. Huyu mtu ameshikwa labda ako pale kwa nyumba, akishikwa sasa sisi tunaendelea na kesi tukiandikisha statement.
So Esther amesema rescue. Ukirescue watoto unawapeleka wapi?
Mara nyingi ni usiku. Na tuna center pale kwetu, hatuna mahali pa kuwaweka. Wewe mwenye kufika hapo unawachukua, unawapeleka kwa nyumba yako. Labda kitu imefanyika pale chini na huko upande wa juu, kitu ya kwanza wapeleke kwangu, watakuwa safe. Labda watoto wajakula, korogeni uji, wapatieni watoto chakula, sisi tukiendelea kusaidia mama. Sana sisi ndio tunarescue watoto. Asubuhi yake ikifika ndio tunajua tutatafuta shelter wapi. Maana ukikaa pale hatujui huyu mtu kama ako na watu wake wanaweza kukufuata hata mchana na wadhuru wale watoto.
So does groups have plans for establishment of rescue centers?
Yes, thank you. Like my colleague has mentioned, we normally look for the fast and quickest, safest way to first of all help these victims. Like she has mentioned, sometimes the quickest would be first of all to keep these people in your house. We have had instances of them being kept in our houses. But at the moment, Groots Kenya has safe houses. We have one in Kiambu. We have another one in Tana River. And we have one in Kakamega. And these safe houses are for women. Of course, if a woman comes in with their children, we will keep them there with their children. But we don't keep children without their parents. We don't have the consent because children under 18 have to be kept in a children's center. So what we normally do, like she has mentioned, we will keep them in our house, but we have to inform the administration. The chief has to be aware that you have children you have kept in your house for safe custody for an overnight stay as you plan on a way forward the next day.
Yeah.
So then the next day you will work with the children's office to ensure that these children are now forwarded into a children's center for safe custody. That is how we work. And that is why the collaboration really helps us.
Yeah.
But for an overnight stay, they can stay in your house, but with the consent of administration. Yeah.
For every time we commemorate the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, every year we talk about some form of reduction, we talk about elimination, we talk about support increasing and things like that. Have we seen that there has been a definite reduction in the cases of this kind of violence? Speak for your areas. Has there been a reduction over time? And can we look and say, well, the practitioners in this space have said to have a complete elimination would be very difficult. But if we see a reduction because of the work that's doing that, the perpetrators are now saying, well, okay, we will hold this back. What are we seeing has been the case?
I would say from where I sit, there has been a reduction because sometime even last year into the other years I've been doing this because I've been practicing gender-based violence for the last more than 15 years. I used to leave my house almost daily to attend to cases. Every night I would be called for several cases. In the last few months, I've not left my house to attend to GBV cases. That indicates there is a reduction. Our shelter in Limuru, in Kiambu, has not had people coming in. And it is open anytime for anybody who feels insecure. If we feel this person is insecure, we bring them in. We've not had any admission. Yeah.
And how long?
For the last few months, say about 4 months. That tells you that, that is a reduction because there are times we used to have people flowing in every other day. So that is an indication from me, an indicator of some slight reduction. Of course, even the references from other institutions, because some of the cases we used to take in were also references from other institutions, because when their shelters are also overflowing, they would refer to our institution. So we have not been having these references. So it is not only about groups. If other institutions are also having the overflow, they would be referring them to us. So I'm taking it as a general perspective of as a reduction in gender-based violence.
What would you attribute this to?
I would, like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this, that I would attribute to the call by everybody and the involvement of community as a community responsibility for all of us to engage in acting upon gender-based violence. We have taken it as a community responsibility. Unlike in the past, when people used to say, police, where is police? They would see people watch GBV happening under their watch.
Absolutely.
But nowadays, anything happening, you will find people taking up action. Like for me, I want to tell you this. If I am called here, even when I'm in the media, somebody calls me now that I receive a distress call, unfortunately, I'll just have to leave because it is a call within me.
Emergency.
It is an emergency. And that is how the community is now reacting. They will call, they will react. Yeah. Initially, they would say, let them fight. That is their own business. But today, yes, wacha kuingilia. These are family matters. But nowadays, everybody will come up in their arms and say, no, we cannot allow this to go on. You find even some of the plots, people will say, if you bring any fight within this plot, then you no longer need to live here. So that tells you community have taken it up on themselves.
Let me ask both of you, have you ever responded to cases of gender-based violence where the man is the victim?
Yes, we have. I have personally.
Okay.
Yes.
In what kind of instances? You can just give us examples without obviously getting to the details.
I responded to a gender-based violence case of a man who had been violated by the wife. The wife had taken up all their property, the land title deed, taken off with it. And of course, property for us, we know the property you have attained together is property for both of you. When you're disposing of it, you have to agree. So this lady had taken the title deed and ran off from this man. We took up the case and went to the DCC. We stopped any process of anything that this lady would want to do. We put a caution on this land. On anything that this lady may be wanting to do against it. So the man felt comfortable because, he was in a dilemma and was very happy that women can come in and protect him, because for us, we fight for justice for whatever gender. So we protected him, and at long last, he got his title back.
Okay.
So he felt really really taken care of.
Assisted.
Yeah, because he didn't expect that the women. But for us as an organization, we don't discriminate when it comes to gender justice.
Okay.
And we also had a case of a man who had been beaten by the wife. Then we took it up. Unfortunately, for this one, the man later on forgave the wife. But we had taken it up, and we were ready to go to court. Because for us, we normally pursue the cases. But unfortunately, for gender-based violence, without the complainant,
the case drops.
You cannot take it further.
So what
Mary, have you done the same?
Niko na kesi kama ya mwenzangu. Kuna mzee mmoja. Huyo mzee siwezi kumtaja jina, lakini mke alikuja. Alikuwa ametoroka kama miaka 10. Na mzee tukamsaidia mahali, tukamjengea kama community. Mahali pa kukaa. Hakuwa na mahali pa kukaa. Lakini wakati mke alirudi, akaanza kufuatilia kale ka sehemu tulijengea mzee, na akauza. Akachukua mzee akamweka sehemu nyingine, sehemu hata mzee wakati alirudi kwetu akatuambia huko hata ajui ni wapi. Haya, baada ya kukaa huyu mzee akakaa huko akawa hana makao sasa. Mimi mwenyewe unajua mzee mwenyewe sasa mimi ndio nafuatilia kesi zake. Nikafuata kesi mpaka kwa chief, kwa DO, mzee akarekezewa pale mwanamke aliuza na kaenda. Mzee akabaki, kwanza alikuwa anadada kwa hizi vibanda. Tukaonelea hivyo si vizuri kama community. Mimi nikaongoza watu wa community, tukaenda mpaka kwa chief, tukatoka kwa chief tukaenda kwa DO, na mzee baadaye sasa amerudi mahali pake, na ninashukuru. Maana kama singekuwa huyu mzee sasa angepotelea tu ama afe. Manake sisi kazi yetu ni mingi kwa community. Sisi bado tunafanya kazi ya community health volunteer, tunafanya hizo zote tunafanya. Kama hatukufanya hivyo, huyo mzee tungempote. Sasa naishi mahali pake na tunafurahia kama community. Tukimuona akitembea na akivaa na akioga. Yes.
It's interesting because you talk about community, Pacifica, and now when we talk about the perpetrators being then brought to justice, right? Or at least so if there's a case, it goes to the police usually goes to court, etc., etc. But the interesting thing with GBV is that you may have repeat offenders, but it's also possible that a new case is a new offender, right? But if we are seeing it reducing, then one must ask the question, are the perpetrators then known to the survivors? Are they people that you know in the community, this person is the one who did this to this person? Because I asked the question, you say that unless the one who is violated brings the case, it would not be heard. In the case of children, if the perpetrator is known, are the parents likely to come out and say, we are seeking for justice because of what was done to our child? Is it people that are known in the community who then are committing these crimes?
Yes, I want to agree that most of the cases that we have within our communities turn out to be people who are known. And like you've mentioned, sometimes you realize, mostly when there are cases that are for children, you find that the parents are compromised to do kangaroo courts and let the cases go. But our role, because we know that children may not have much to say in their own cases, but children are property of the government. Our role as champions is to ensure that the children get justice. And anytime we realize that there are cases going on for children and parents are coming in to negotiate otherwise, so that the children don't get justice, we will ensure that we follow up and let the children get justice. In fact, we will tell the parents, if they play around, they will also be in shit, because they're the ones denying the children the justice. We've had cases even of defilement of children. Then along the way, you realize that the children, I have a case that I was presented to the other day, I'm following it up in Limuru, of a child who has been defiled, but the parents are trying to negotiate with the perpetrator, so that they can be paid some money. And the case cannot see the light of the day. I'm following it up. And normally when we follow up, you realize these cases are followed up, are going on. But most of the time you get to learn some of these cases when the parents have already negotiated and been given money. But we as champions, we cannot allow that, because you're denying an innocent child their justice. But for us, we normally follow up. We have a case in Lari of a child who was defiled badly, which we are also following up. And we've been following up. Of course, we have a delay with the justice system. We've been following up this case since 2021. And this case involved, because it was rescued by our champions in Githunguri. They had gone to hospital in Kiambu. They came across this case. Then they handed over to the champions, because that is how we work. They handed over to the champions in Lari, because it is within their jurisdiction. Then by coincidence, the court is in Limuru, and by virtue of being the lead champion. So we are all of us following this case to ensure that this girl gets justice. So that is how we work. We follow up to ensure justice. For anybody above 18, they have their own decision to make. If they decide they don't want to follow up, then we don't have much we can do. But for the children cases, we follow up to ensure that nobody compromises for the child to lose out on their cases.
Inevitably, this brings conflict.
Yes.
Between the champions and the parents.
Yes.
And then that also brings in pressure to the child, because the child is still living under the care of the parents who do not want this case to proceed. And yet there's a champion somewhere who's still pushing for this case to proceed. How do you handle this emerging conflict?
What we normally do, like we have a case in scenario in Juja, where normally, of course, the child had been perpetrated by the stepfather. She had been defiled by the stepfather. So the mother was being compromised by the relatives of the stepfather, so that they negotiate to have the case winded up. But when we came in, we sat down the mother and made her understand that this man has just come into your life. This is your own blood. This child is your own blood. If you don't pursue, you will get back to the same house and he will keep doing this. So we normally don't come in with force. We sit them down. We took this lady through a session of counseling to make her understand. We don't come in with force, actually. We sit them down to make them understand the integrities of ensuring that this child gets justice. You will be given, we make them understand, you'll be given little money, but you'll have denied your child a lifetime justice that will make her, in future, if she gets to learn that it is you who denied her the justice, she will hate you forever. So we have had we've taken them through, and they come to understand. And at the end of the day, we are on the same page. So we normally don't go in with force. No, we make them we go through a process of making them understand. We bring in even a psychologist to make them understand a process. It is a process that we go through. Of course, the people that we normally don't agree much. Sometimes you realize it is the police who are coming in. Some of them, not all of them are good people. Some of them are the ones who come in to negotiate on behalf, so that they're also making a kill. But for us, we make them understand that no, it is not the right thing to do for your child. And at the end of the day, most of them will always agree with us.
As we wind up,
yep.
Somebody who's watching this interview or listening, and they'd like to be part of your champions or to join your organization or to support you in any way, how do they get in touch with you?
Of course, when they want to support us, Roots Kenya, like we said, is an organization that depends on donor funding, on support from well-wishers, because we do this out of goodwill. Like I said, we are volunteers, but of course we have a secretariat in Westlands. But for us at the grassroots level, we volunteer. We are not paid, but the secretariat looks for funds to ensure that we have the logistics, because all this work we are doing, like having the shelter, like meetings with the other partners, with enabling those meetings so that we are talking and working together, is enabled by the funds that we get from the various partners we work with. So we always call for any partner that wants to work with us. We are always available. And we will always take in any support, because the support that we get will enable that we reach out to many more people, do a lot of sensitization that will reach out to many communities. So we are calling for people to unite together. Let us invest in grassroots organizations, because they are the pillar of all this work in our grassroots level. They are better placed to do gender-based violence and response, because that is where it is happening most. Thank you so much.
Pacifica Ongecha, Roots Kenya National and Kembu Coordinator, and Mary Njoki, Roots Kenya Nairobi Coordinator. They've been our guests. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has asked newly appointed diplomats to curb the wastage of public resources in Kenya's missions abroad. The president said the government will ensure ambassadors are held accountable for the use of funds allocated to embassies. He made the remarks at State House, Nairobi, during a meeting with 41 newly appointed ambassadors, high commissioners and deputy heads of mission. There were 27 ambassadors and high commissioners, 2 consul generals and 12 deputy heads of mission. And the Baringo County government is ready to host the 9th Kimalaya Goat Auction, with President William Ruto expected to grace the annual event. The event, held every December at the Kimalaya grounds in Baringo South constituency, was suspended for 2 years in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 3-day event is scheduled to kick off Wednesday, December 13th, with the climax being on Thursday, when President William Ruto is expected to be the chief guest. The auction expects to sell around 3,000 goats. The trial hearing for the murder case involving former Pangani police officer Ahmed Rashid is set to commence on March 14th, 2024. Following the completion of a pre-trial conference and the disclosure of witness statements to the defense team at Kibera Court, it was revealed that the prosecution plans to present 25 witnesses against Rashid. The proceedings, set to be presided over by High Court Judge Diana Kavedza, will initiate with 12 witnesses scheduled to appear before the court on March 14th, 25th and 26th next year. Rashid stands accused of the murder of 2 teenagers, Jamal Mohammed and Mohammed Dair Khairi, on March 31st, 2017 at Amal Plaza in Eastleigh, Nairobi. Having denied the 2 counts of murder before Justice Diana Kavedza, Rashid was released on a 200,000 shillings bond. During the pre-trial conference, Judge Kavedza cautioned the legal teams against turning the case into drama.
There will be no fights, only intellectual war, intellectual battle. Who is more witty? Outwit the other one using your intellect, right?
The Kenya government is said to send about 1,500 farm workers to Israel on a 3-year contract amid the ongoing war with Hamas. The Ministry of Labour, through Principal Secretary Shadrach Mwadime, announced that the 2 countries had inked a deal for mutual benefits where the Kenyan labour would be exported mainly as casual workers to work in Israel's agricultural fields. The deal, according to Mwadime, has a guaranteed net income of $230,000, approximately $1,500 per month. P.S. Mwadime had met with an Israel representative, the MD of Guri Avocados, Rami Cohen, and the Kenya Chamber of Commerce President Eric Ruto. The ministry said that the casual laborers would be earning a net income of $1,500. People with disabilities in Cheptai's ward in Mount Elgon constituency in Bungoma County have received funding for various equipment, including wheelchairs, from the National Fund for the Disabled. According to the program manager, Rhoda Ambira, the funding intends to change the lives of the disabled while asking them to make good use of the equipment and promising to reach more people next year.
Tarajia kwamba tunaporudi mwaka ujao tutakuja na tutakuwa na more beneficiaries wenye watabenefit. We also like to encourage wenye wamepata mwaka huu, tafadhali muache na wenzenyu wenye wajafanikiwa pia waweze kuapply ili wapate pia the next round yenye tu. Msiuze vifaa, msipeane vifaa, lakini mzitumie kwa mali yenu binafsi ili kuweza kuamudu.
On his part, the Deputy Commissioner Cheptai Sub-County Kalume Nzovu has advised disabled families to submit applications for the equipment they need through administrative offices.
Kila mtu amepata kile kifaa ambacho alikuwa ameuliza. Mtu akiweka ile application na kutokea kwa ofisi ya chief kuja kwa ofisi ya Assistant County Commissioner na ofisi ya DC pamoja na Department of Social Development, ukisha sign hiyo form inapoenda Nairobi, huko hakuna vetting nyingine, ni kwamba yeye basi lazima atasaidika.
Police have announced the closure of major roads in the city centre to enhance the operations of a major youth summit at the Kenyatta International Convention Centre. According to Nairobi Police Boss Adamson Bungei, Parliament Road, City Hall Way, Taifa Road and Arambe Avenues will be closed for the 4 days. The 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit is expected to convene over 20,000 young people, government officials, corporate leaders and development champions. The Youth Connect Africa 2023 Summit will bring together over 20,000 young people across Africa and beyond under the theme Youth Innovating a Borderless African Renaissance. This year's summit aims to spotlight youth leadership and innovation for Africa's integration through policy discussions, storytelling and networking, and entrepreneur-focused programs including a marketplace and investor meetings. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so let's take a look at what's going on. Traffic this morning has not been too crazy. There's a lot of movement on Jogoo Road getting out into the CBD. And we're still seeing some of that still heavy coming off of Limuru Road this morning. So that's heavy coming in from United Nations Avenue all the way through past, even before that, Village Market, and then out towards the hospital and then into the city. Wangari Maathai Way, taking off some of that, then getting out to the Westlands Junction. All right, North Airport Road also is busy at that junction, then going towards Outer Ring. That also is still doing the rounds. And we're still okay on Langata Road. That has not caused much in terms of traffic issues this morning. So it's one to watch. See what happens as we get closer to the end of traffic hour. We'll talk on Spice FM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
How are you
the only way
to the final hour of The Situation Room this week. It's the 8th of December 2023. Next week, Jamhuri Day, and then everything now just goes
finished.
Kwisha. From that point on, it's a blur until school fees.
Even that will be a blur. What?
At school. At the fees. See, we paid.
This year, brother, this year.
Mutakipata. Anyway, do this. You go to Nakuru tomorrow, or today, or any other day. Go to Salga. Get there. As you're heading out towards Kericho, it's on the right before you start the incline towards Sachangwan. You will see that Lami Road.
Mm-hmm.
Go about 300 meters. You can even walk, right? So that you just see the scenery.
Enjoy the
flat land. And you'll see a gate. It's written Delight Nakuru. You'll find people there. Tell them, I'm the guy who had sent an SMS to 20321. They'd called me back and they told you that I'm coming. Oh, be like, Mheshimiwa, karibu sana. Juice, shika, twende, kuonyesha shamba. Because this, at least, if you buy this piece of land this year, next year you'll be saying, at least I did something last year. Yeah?
It's a good investment to start
with
now.
Yes. Or even a good investment to start the new year with. 799,000 shillings for an eighth of an acre. This is a new estate that they're putting up in Salga, Delight Nakuru. They're saying, just come be part of our community. SMS the word Nakuru to 20321. Username Investments are the developers of this. They will call you. They will take you through it. They'll tell you, come and see. Select your plot. They'll take you through the entire vision of this. And then you'll make your decision. So, the word is Nakuru. Send it to 20321. Tomorrow is the what corruption day?
It's the World
International Anti-Corruption Day, right?
Yes, December 9th.
December 9th. And this day is the day when, as we were told by Philip from the ESCC the other day, many people from many countries across the world met in Mexico some 20 years ago.
Yes.
And they said, you know what, we are going to come up with a UN convention to fight corruption. And countries signed. Kenya was number one on the line, signed and ratified this and said, yes. And we said we're going to have institutions that fight corruption. And the journey then towards fighting corruption was institutionalized at the UN level and at the local level. Ahead of tomorrow's commemoration, we're going to have this conversation today with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Our guest this morning is Annette Wangia. She's a Senior Principal Prosecution Counsel in the DPP's office. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Kenya's biggest conversation. As we look into tomorrow's day and the big event for tomorrow, there is a proverb that we always give our guests. City Muga is the one who gives the proverb. He stepped out for a meeting this morning. But the proverbs for this week have been from a country called Eritrea. I'm sure you've heard of it. Today's proverb says, dreamers remember their dreams when they are in trouble. Dreamers remember their dreams when they are in trouble. Annette, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
So, actually, I think I reflect on it as we have this conversation about anti-corruption. I think that it's very easy for us to go about our daily lives without thinking about the impact that what our actions do. And if we sleep, by the time we wake up and realize what we've done, it will be very late.
We'll be in trouble.
We'll be like, this is not where I intended to be as at this point. And so I think that we have to be conscious every day about the choices that we are making and where we want to go. What do we want to see for ourselves and for our children and for the future generations? So let's not be dreamers.
I get it. So dream and then work towards actualizing that dream.
Absolutely.
If you lose vision of your dream, you will get into trouble, and then you'll remember, I
had a dream.
I had a dream that things would go this way.
Yeah.
You're ending up there because you dropped your dream.
Yeah, correct.
Be the guy who doles out points today.
That's a good one. Points. Out of 15.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I think Annette gets 16.
Hey!
Overachiever already.
It's a good way to start on Friday.
Exceeding expectation.
Thank you very much.
Now, we know the DPP.
Yes.
But now, this other officers below, the Senior Principal Prosecution Counsel. What's that?
That's just a big name. to say what we do. So how the office operates is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is across the country. We're in all counties, all sub-counties. We appear in all the courts in Kenya. And because the DPP cannot appear in person, he has different officers, and we are of different ranks depending on, your years of experience, your... how long you stayed with the institution and so on.
Right.
And so it just means that I'm in the office to do what the DPP has sent us out to do, and that is to defend the rights of Kenyans. And so our work is to institute, basically to begin criminal proceedings, to carry them out all the way to the end. So from the time someone is presented to court on the first day to the very last day of sentencing, where, we represent the victim's rights and say, this is what the victim is saying happened to them. This is the effect of what has happened to them, and we are asking the court to take these matters into consideration as it sentences.
Okay.
So that's our work.
Now, though, you've actually headed that direction. Let's stay there for a little bit, right? So we know the DPP, and then we also see the people who appear in court representing the ODPP.
Yes.
But those are not the only people who work on a case. So how is that structure? What departments do you have in the ODPP?
So let me explain it in this way. What happens is that when a case has been reported, and let's talk about anti-corruption cases,
Yes.
because that's our topic. When an anti-corruption case is reported, it's reported in different ways. So there might be anonymous reports, there might be news reports. You guys uncover, people in the media uncover happenings out there, and the investigative agencies, the EACC, the National Police Service, KRA, a number of institutions, they undertake investigations, basically. They're like, okay, they compile a file and they forward it to us as the ODPP. They say, we think that we have enough evidence to sustain charges against an individual. And so that file is presented to us. And one of our most important decisions that we have to make is determining whether what has been brought to us is sufficient. Many times, there's an inkling that something has happened, or you might even have some evidence that an offense has happened, but we don't quite have enough evidence. And so in those circumstances, what we do is that we send the file back to the investigative agency and say, you need to cover this and this area. So I'll give you an example. Let's talk about procurement offences, which are very common anti-corruption offences. A tender was issued to someone's brother or son or sister, and the documents that have been signed, and we are saying we want to charge this person. How do we know that the signature that appears on this document belongs to the person that we intend to charge? We say if that has not been done, we send that document back to the investigative agencies. They have document examiners who are experts in their own rights, and they get, we call them known signatures, which is, when you come into work, you sign in, we get that book. And we compare it with this document, this tender document. We are saying this the document submitted with the tender, and we are saying, did you really sign this payment document that authorized money to leave government to go to an individual irregularly? And so once those areas have been covered, then the file is brought to us, and we say, okay, we make a determination. The evidence is enough. We can now go to court, and from there now we launch the case into court.
Typically, how long should it take before, when an investigative agency brings the file to the ODPP, how long do you have to review the file and respond to the investigating agency?
Now, we don't have rigid rules, only because, for instance, anti-corruption matters are quite complex. So sometimes we get files where we have 20,000 documents to review. So for those documents, you might get a little bit longer. You might get maybe 2 weeks. You might get a month. You might get 2 months because of the complexities that come up. But we try within a month of receiving of a file. It comes through to the DPP. The DPP notes it down to the various departments. And from that department, brief or a review is done, and we report back to the DPP and tell him this is what this file says. The DPP looks at that and he makes the decision. The ultimate decision comes from the DPP, whether this evidence is enough, whether it should go to court, and what happens. And so we send it back to the investigative agencies. They conduct the arrests, and we go to court.
Okay. This is interesting because in this all of this is the processes that now we're talking about the war on graft and the processes that then actually make this war move from step to step, isn't it?
Yes.
And a lot of times, even as we read some of these things, we get involved in these cases on our side as media, on other people who then consume this information. We often ask ourselves, so what happens before, at the end of, because what you're saying is interesting, at the end of the day, we see a charge sheet in court. And all these processes that you talk about then go towards now, it culminates in this charge sheet. Confirmation of known signature, confirmation of identity, confirmation of a process through which somebody was actually at work here, all of those things. Then you now say, based on that, we can now level these charges, is it not?
Yes.
So then under what circumstances would a magistrate then say, again, as we've seen, to the ODPP that, no, this does not meet the threshold, or doesn't meet the evidentiary threshold, I would ask that you go back. Or, as again we've seen, the ODPP would say, actually, you know what? The evidence that we thought would have been enough to now level charges actually is not. What circumstances or scenarios would we be playing with here for those things to then be determined?
All right. There are various things that happen in the court process. So we do go to court, and I'll start at the beginning. Sometimes the magistrate at that very initial point might say, this charge sheet you've brought to me, I don't like how it looks. For instance, you might find that we have brought a charge sheet with 30 counts, and we have 18 people. And the magistrate says, for you to prosecute these 18 people in the 30 counts, I don't like it. And so they'll send it back to us and say, I think you should look at this and see, should we split this just for ease of prosecution, for ease of handling the case? Now, when we go later on into trial, different things happen. Sometimes the witnesses who recorded those statements they're nowhere to be found. They go missing. A lot of people are government employees. They retire, and when they retire, they go home. They tell you, listen, I'm not coming. I'm no longer working in that organization, and I'm not going to come to testify.
So it's not that they go missing. It's that they are no longer willing to testify.
There's those who go missing.
Go missing means what?
You just cannot find them.
In this country.
So can you believe it? We go to your home. We start with, when you recorded your statement, you were living in, let's say, South Sea, in Nairobi. So we come to where you told us, because when you record your statement, you give us, basic details about where you live. We come there and we don't find you. First of all, you start with the employer. Employer says, oh, Eric retired. So then we go to your residence. Your residence, we can't find you. We check your phone numbers. That number is disconnected. Sometimes we even go to your village and they say, we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him for years. You know, some people, I think they said...
That is not... Listen, in this country of ours, if the police want you today and you're hiding in a cave, not in a cave, you've dug a hole inside
there's a bunker underground.
Yes. Umejificha ndani ya mbuyu, you know, big baobab tree, you're in there, they will find you.
I'm not saying that it is impossible to be found, but people make it very difficult. Eric, you know of stories of people who disappeared from their homes and were not seen for 20 years. And so the agencies that we work with, they also have limitations. So when someone doesn't want to be found, they can make sure you don't find them. Now, the second one is where we talked about people who are unwilling. They don't want to come. We have means and ways through the courts. We issue court summons. Sometimes we issue warrants. And that means we'll send a police officer to your home and they'll bring you to court. But you can imagine the attitude of that person who's coming to court under a warrant of arrest. They were put at the back of a vehicle. They probably spent a night in the cells because they told you, I don't want to come. When they come to court, the value of the evidence they'll bring to you is not the same as someone who wakes up in the morning and says, I'd like to come and fight corruption. So when this person comes to court and they're testifying, it's completely different. Now, a third part is we have refractory witnesses. You have a statement. In fact, sometimes, not many times, we meet with the witnesses before. A week to a couple of days to the day they're due to testify, we meet with them. And I ask them, we'll ask them, So what happened? And they tell you, according to their statement, when they get to court, the testimony they give is completely different. You're sitting there wide-eyed. You're like, what are you saying?
So the magistrate then would ask you as ODPP, did you even meet this individual before? How can you bring this kind of thing to my court?
But you're killing your own case. It seems like, how did you bring someone who's going to testify evidence that's against the case that you're bringing. And for us, we are also shocked. And, many times people don't think that we prep. But we prep, But between the time you prepped and the time the witness appeared in court, something has happened. And by the time that evidence goes on record, it's over. It's over. So there are different things that happen in court. Sometimes even the documents, because by the time we're making the decision to charge, you're given documents and you're informed, okay, this and this is there. By the time you're coming to court, sometimes the documents are unavailable. Sometimes, someone just comes and says, I actually did not sign this document as your witness. And so you're like, what do I do? Sometimes we declare them hostile witnesses, but again, once you've declared your witness hostile, your case is not going in the right direction.
So when you see that are you then forced, quote unquote, to sometimes pull a case based on things like this? Absolutely. Because then the public says, oh, for goodness sake, this ODPP is not serious about this war on graft, because we see that a case, because we are sure that by the time with an office with such agency has brought a case to court, the absolute knowledge is that they have done the due diligence to get to this point where a charge sheet has been formed, right? So by the time we then see you pulling a case, we say, this one, politically motivated. This one, somebody must have seen somebody. But now what you're saying then, you have, because the law is the law, you have no choice but to pull a case because the evidence then you have before a magistrate or a judicial officer does not meet the threshold. Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what we're saying, and that's part of the power of the DPP is to review cases continually. And so as a prosecutor, when I'm in court and something like that happens, I go back and I tell the DPP, I say, I think this case is not going like we thought it was going to go. And, if we continue with a case where the witnesses are clearly saying, for instance, whatever we've charged did not happen, if we proceed with that case all the way to the end, the people are acquitted, they'll sue the government. They'll say, we were prosecuted maliciously. And so then we are losing more money. So it's our job to review it constantly. Sometimes you thought there's something that you thought or you understood it a particular way. And when the witnesses come to court, you say, that's not what was reflected in the witness statements. That's not how the case was formulated. And so what do? I go back and we say, let's review this. Do we really have enough evidence to sustain a charge and to result in conviction? And that's what our mandate is. It's not just a strong suspicion. It has to be that we are sure that this case will result in a conviction.
You know what I'm hearing? That you're saying one of the greatest challenges that you face as a prosecutor who's taking a case through the process is the dishonesty of the human beings who come out initially to say, I will be a witness. And then they change their testimony or they change their mind at some point in this process. The question is why? Why do they change their minds? Do they actually change their minds? Or was this set out to end up the way it's ending up, ab initio?
I don't think it happens at the beginning of the case. I think that things change in the course of trial. And sometimes it's things like, for instance, let me take the example of I work at ODPP.
Yes.
And I record a statement because an offense has happened at the ODPP.
Yeah.
Now, in the course of this case ongoing, I have to deal with my colleagues who are like, oh, Annette is the witness who's testifying against Jane. And so there's an internal battle that you're fighting. You're like, is it worth bringing down the life of my colleague? Because this means you're going to be fired. You're not going to get your pension benefits. When I look at this individual, I'm like, oh, they have a family. What's happening with their children? Because once you're a public officer and you're charged, you're immediately sent on suspension.
Yep.
You get half of your salary. So sometimes you just feel, is it really worth it? And I think that's really what we are talking about this year.
That should be the exception and not the norm, where somebody gets there and something tells them, an angel visits them in the middle of the night and tells them, you know what, the children of this person who is stealing from the public and who's bringing your own office into disrepute are going to suffer. That should be the exception. It cannot be that's the norm, because I work in this office. Unless you're saying that I was forced to be a witness in the first place, I was forced or I was coerced to write a statement because this crime has happened in this department. Members of this department, you either testify or ama tukuongeze kwa hii list. So you opt at that point to avoid getting into the list. You say, okay, I'll tell you what I know. And then you realize there's no motivation at all in terms of even your own moral values to stand by the word that you're saying, that I sat here and I saw these officers colluding to abuse office, colluding to steal from the public. If you don't have that moral fiber in you, then you'll change your mind. But if you have moral fiber in you, you'll stick the cause, unless you are coerced in the first place.
In fact, I think you said two very important things. There's a perception out there that anti-corruption cases don't go anywhere. And indeed, for me, I would say these cases that we are talking about are not the norm, they're the exception. What happens is that corruption trials are long and boring. We sit there perusing document after document after document, and it's not exciting for members of the public to follow. It's not reported as much because there's not much to talk about. And so what happens is that we forget. It's exciting when you hear, oh, this MP or this governor was arrested, but then it takes 4 years for us to go through the process just because it's the process. Taking evidence takes a long time. We have a number of witnesses, and proving corruption cases, it's a very high threshold. And so people feel, no, there are so many people being acquitted, but that's not the position. There's a lot of convictions that are happening from corruption cases. And so the few cases where there's been a withdrawal or a review of charges against some accused persons, now that pops up in the media and it's like, oh no, we are losing this fight. But for me, I don't believe that. I think that we are doing well. I think that we are heading in the right direction. But the second thing that I wanted to say is this year we are talking about being united against corruption. And we have to realize that each of us has a role to play. If I leave the ODPP, I get another job, for instance, and tomorrow I'm called that this happened while you were at the ODPP, come and testify. I shouldn't say that that's no longer my business. I should be like, no, it's my duty as a citizen of this country to make sure that things are going well. And anybody who's not upholding the law needs to be brought to book. So it's inconvenient sometimes, it's expensive because maybe I no longer live in Nairobi, I might be living in Mombasa, I might be living in Egypt, and I'm being asked, travel back and come and testify, or make arrangements and testify. We have to inconvenience ourselves. We have to wake up and say, if I don't fight, nobody else will fight. We want to say, we think that let's let the EACC work, but the EACC cannot work if individuals don't get out of their comfort zones and report the things they are seeing in their offices. Many times, that your procurement officer is not following the procedures. These tenders are consistently being issued to one company, but we are quiet. Why are we quiet? We have means and ways for anonymous reporting. You don't even need to come and say, I'm the one reporting. Just send an email. And let it be, and let the investigative agencies take it from there.
Let's take a break.
All right.
Annette Wangia is a senior principal prosecution counsel in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. She's here this morning to look at the fight against corruption in this country ahead of the International Anti-Corruption Day Day 2023. That's to be commemorated tomorrow, the 9th of December. Back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
At 20 degrees actually, sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 19 in Nakuru, going to highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 26 as well in a sunny Nyeri at 18. 17 and sunny in Eldoret with highs of 25 and lows of 12. And looking into a partly sunny Mombasa at 28, we'll see highs of 31. We'll see highs of 32 in a partly sunny Malindi, currently at 29. Kisumu this morning is sunny at 24 with highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 28 as well in a sunny Kakamega. Kampala is cloudy at 22 with highs of 28, and it's raining this morning at 28 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30. And looking into a sunny Johannesburg at 20, we'll see highs of 27, while Mogadishu is sunny at 30 with highs of 33 today, and we'll see highs of 22 in a sunny Addis Ababa, currently at 16. It's 26 and sunny in Lagos with highs of 32, and looking into a rainy Kinshasa at 24, we'll see highs of 31. Friday afternoon in Beijing is sunny at 14. And it's 7 and cloudy in Paris this morning with mostly cloudy conditions at 6 in London. And Thursday night in New York is 4 degrees and cloudy coming into Friday. Highs of 9 and lows of 4.
Spice FM. Nyeri.
The road with some traffic, then touching on Outer Ring just a little bit. So whatever happened on Haile Selassie this morning was a mess because it's still creating heavy traffic that's now tailed back all the way to the roundabout on Jogo Road and Lusaka Road.
Roads are closed.
What are
Youth Conference.
Voila.
Taifa Road, Parliament Road, and
that explains it.
So everybody is on Haile Selassie.
That's why. From very early this morning. So that's what explains. If you feel like clicking your teeth, that's the reason why. All right, and it might be that way for most of Friday. Okay. Also looking at traffic, then getting into the city byway of Limuru Road, and then now tailing back on the Thika Superhighway as well. So what would have been an easy traffic Friday, well, maybe not so much. Let's talk through the morning. Still, Spice FM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting every weekday morning on Spice FM, on KTN Home. We are now also live on KTN News and as well live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Our guest is Annette Wangia. She's a Senior Principal Prosecution Counsel at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ahead of the International Anti-Corruption Day 2023, taking stock of the fight against corruption in this country for the last 20 years since the ratification of the convention, UN Convention on the fight against corruption. So, Annette, you were telling us the work that the ODPP does in taking these cases through the prosecution process and the challenges that you face. And you, as we were going to the break, you said, you know what, we actually have made a lot of progress. We are making very many strides. We are getting very many convictions going through the courts. Really?
Absolutely.
In corruption cases?
Absolutely.
In this country of ours?
Indeed.
For example?
So I know that.
So caveat, Eric is looking for the names of people that we know whose names have gone through the system and have been charged.
Blood on the street.
Yeah, blood and guts spilled on the street. Yeah. Not the people that we don't know about.
Give me a moment. I'll get back to you on the exact names.
Okay.
But indeed, we are getting convictions, and not only are we getting convictions, Eric. Now, one of the things that that is happening is that, you know, it's not enough for us to have someone in jail. It's because when they're in jail, they're still costing us money.
Yeah.
What we want is that when someone has
killed them.
No, we are not killing them.
Okay.
We are. We want the money to come back to the institutions. We want the money to go to do the jobs that they're supposed to do. If a road was supposed to be built, let's have that road built. If a hospital, a school, let the money go there. And so we are really making a lot of efforts towards following the money. And so we do that in two ways. One, we go through the court system, and we've talked about that. That's a long and complicated process that we have to come to the end. And at the end of that period, we say, okay, you've been found guilty. We expect you to pay us back 2 billion shillings.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that is that in the 5 years it has taken us to convict, the money has gone. It's dissipated, and so one of the first things we are doing is freezing of assets. As soon as we say, there's something fishy happening here, there's some money that has suddenly appeared in your bank accounts, let's freeze these assets as we investigate. So the EACC is empowered to investigate. Basically, you cannot explain why you have the amount of money or assets that you have versus your income. So if we look at your employment, maybe the businesses that you run, it's not commensurate with the money that you're holding. And so we go to court and we tell the court, look, the EACC has investigated and has established that you have more money than your assets, than your income.
Sources of income.
Exactly. So could you explain to us where you've gotten this money from? And the truth is that often that money is proceeds of crime. My cousin was in a business or is employed, and we put together this business, and because they know the accounts are likely to be investigated, they tell me, just hold this money for now, or let's register something in your name, let's buy land or cars or something. And so it's a civil procedure that doesn't go through the long criminal process. And yet we get the same end goal. If you cannot explain to us, then the court says, okay, your explanation is not sufficient. So the initial burden is on the investigator, the EACC, to establish, is there really sufficient case? And then we come to court, and the burden shifts to the person who's being investigated, and they are told to explain. And in those cases, we are getting a lot of money back into the system, because it's just, you cannot explain it, then let's get the money back. And it's paid back to, if it was Migori County or Kiambu County, the money goes back there. Yes.
That is civil. ODPP is criminal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but the ODPP is where we see cases going, and they're not ending up with. So if somebody has been told return 100 million, 2 billion shillings, see, that's big money. That's a big profile person. They've been forced to relinquish all these assets, forfeit them back to the state. Sawa. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is charged with making sure that there is criminal prosecution and conviction for the crime that the person has committed.
Yes.
On those ones.
Then
what happens?
And that's the one that I'm talking about. So I know this was a little bit back, but it's something that we are still fighting even in the High Court. You recall that I think it was last year, we had a conviction on the NSSF case where people were fined 2.4 billion. Now, what we are saying is that once we have identified your assets, we go to court and we say, the court is like, no, the ODPP proved its case. It's proved its case that this money left public accounts and went into a private area, and, it wasn't well done. Then we need this money to come back. So we go after your assets because of that, and we're like, okay, sell these properties and let's get the money back. And in the meantime, the people who are charged in those cases, they're still in jail, because if you don't give us the money, then you're not going home. So they were sentenced to between 8 and 12 years each, and they're still in jail, because really, like we said, for us it's even more important that we get the money back rather than having you in jail. And we have many cases that, we've gotten convictions. Some are not as large, but do not reach those high amounts of billions, but for us we feel every conviction is a victory. Because let's talk about the convictions that we get from police officers who are collecting bribes on the road. It may not seem so. An officer is arrested, and at the time of arrest on that date, he has collected 10,000 shillings. What we are saying is that the reason we get this person off of the roads is that as at 11 a.m. you have 10,000. How much money do you have at the end of the day? How much money have you collected at the end of the month, at the end of the year? So it's a consistent collection, a consistent seeping of funds that should be going towards other purposes in building the nation, but this individual is collecting money for himself and for his own private benefit. And so we are saying, let's remove you from your office. You're unsuitable to serve in this office of the police. Let's get someone in this place who will do a better job than what you're doing. Yeah.
Is there, because you talk about agencies and support that comes across, in the fight against corruption, the war on graft, to say let's move a little bit, further along in terms of these cases, is there complete cooperation and cohesion amongst the bodies that are tasked to fight graft? ODPP, EACC, DCI. We've seen the fights that have happened, the tension that has been between the ODPP and the DCI, for example. How then can you ensure that the war on graft continues in a forward trajectory if there's always DCI said, ODPP said, I didn't do? I don't want to say he said, she said, but I don't know who would be the he and the she. Yeah. But okay, ODPP said and DCI said or didn't say. Can you really then say we're making strides if agencies that are tasked with this crucial work sometimes don't agree?
I would say that we're making strides. I think that tension in every relationship, in every working relationship, there's always going to be tension. Sometimes there's difference of opinion. One institution feels, no, this is the way we should go, and that the other institution says, no, I don't think we should go in this way. And I think that that's why the Constitution gives everybody their job. The EACC is mandated to do ethics and anti-corruption. The National Police Service have a larger mandate of handling all sorts of crimes, maintaining law and order and so on. And the ODPP has the job to prosecute. The judiciary has the job to make a decision between, the people who've been charged, the people who are saying, no, you've committed an offense. So for us, we say, and I think that the courts have agreed with us over the years, that the ODPP should focus on prosecution. We should not overstep and start dictating, for instance, how the EACC should conduct its ethics education. And the National Police should not say, no, I think this person should be charged. I think that the ODPP has made a mistake. And maybe we may make a mistake here and there, and there's a procedure for that. If you think the ODPP did not charge someone who ought to have been charged or charge someone who ought not have been charged, let's go to the High Court. And the High Court has the job of determining, did the ODPP do the wrong thing? And if we feel the police have not done the right thing, we also go to the High Court and say, we think that the DCI is not doing the job that he should be doing. And an impartial arbiter makes that choice. But if we begin to have infighting amongst us, we're not going to do the job that the people have asked us to do.
However, you should not even trust each other so much. Like we've seen recently, it's because of over-trusting one another that cases have collapsed recently in court. Because the DPP trusted that the DCI was going to follow up this case as it's going on with further evidence, with further information, and then you realize that the person who was supposed to come and give you further information moved on. They are now in Malindi, enjoying and basking under the sun.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think that there are times when a case has, there's a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but you can see that a crime has been committed, and you can see that I have maybe 80% of my evidence or 90, and I'm saying, do I want to wait? Maybe as I wait, I'm going to lose my evidence. My witnesses are going to be interfered with before we go to court. And you say, let's go to court. And we've seen that sometimes that comes and bites us because we thought that we were going to be able to cover this 10%. And you know that for the court to convict someone, it's beyond reasonable doubt. And so if we don't get to that point before we charge, then the court is like, you did not prove beyond reasonable doubt. You didn't prove to the required standard. And so we agree absolutely as the ODPP. We say, no, let us make sure that we have watertight evidence as much as it is within our control. There are things that happen that are outside of our control. Sometimes we even feel, oh, no, the court did not understand our case. The court made a wrong decision. Like the witnesses came to court, the documents were produced. everything went well according to the investigative agencies and the ODPP. But when the court comes back, the court says, oh no, you did not prove it to the required standard. And when we feel, for instance, the magistrate's court made that mistake, we go to the High Court. And when we feel the High Court made a mistake, we go to the Court of Appeal. And I think that using the mechanisms that have been put in place, it's very effective, and I think that we should do that.
According to the Constitution, you're independent.
Yes.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is independent. Vituko ground, are you independent?
We are independent.
To what extent?
So we are independent with regard to making the decision to charge and the execution of our mandate. Of course, we are not an island, so we have to be funded by government. Our operations administratively is coordinated and connected to the government, but in how we do our work, we are independent.
So you don't get any political pressure to commence or drop cases?
No, because in the end, as the ODPP, we have to take accountability for the decisions that we make. If let me take the example of where we have political pressure, for instance, to charge, and we charge someone and we don't have the evidence. When that person is acquitted in the end, we have to go to the civil court where they tell us, no, this prosecution was malicious, and we have to defend ourselves. And so if we are constantly charging because of political pressure, then our value or our stance in society, people are like, oh, you can't trust the ODPP. They don't really do what they need to be done.
Do you think recent happenings have done exactly what you're saying? Dented the confidence of the public in the capacity of the ODPP to actually prosecute anti-corruption cases?
Yes, I think that just because we had a number of significant cases that did not come to conclusion, that the public, they're like, but are you really serious? Are you really doing what we expect you to do? And for us, we say, don't let this recent happenings make you question the value of the work that we are doing. We really are doing a lot of work. There might be a number of cases, a couple of cases here and there that did not end up in convictions or that were withdrawn before we got to the end, but the work is still going on.
Yeah. So, you talk about unity in the war against graft, and that's the theme that we're looking at when, this day is commemorated tomorrow and then going into the future after 20 years of fighting graft. Unity by whom?
By all of us. So we are talking about, we've talked about the institutions. So we are saying that the EACC needs to work with the ODPP. The ODPP needs to work with the judiciary. The judiciary needs to work with the prison system. The prison systems need to work with the police. So we are all working together as government. But more than that, this year, we are calling on the public. We are saying that the responsibility of fighting corruption starts with us. If we as individuals make the right choices, then we won't be having as many corruption cases as we are having. Right now, we are talking about students going to Form 1. I think selection is due to happen any moment. You want your child to go to a school that they don't have sufficient marks. They haven't qualified to go to that school. But you excuse yourself, no, but it's my baby. I want them to have the best. But who tells you that the person who qualified to that school doesn't want their child to have the best? Maybe they don't have the money to pay that principal to admit their child. So because they don't have it, when they come, they're told, oh, the slots are full. Your child can't come to this school. When we talk about, let's talk about traffic offenses that many of us are guilty of. I'm running late to a meeting, and so let me drive a little bit on the pavement. Let me overlap everyone else.
Just a little bit.
It's just for today, but is it really just for today? Don't think of corruption as the governor who's stealing 5 billion. Corruption starts with you and I. It starts with failure to adhere to the conditions that have been set in your office. If you're an accounting officer in an institution and you're being told, no, I need this tender to go to, my sister's child, or I need this procurement process to be skewed in this way, it's up to you to say, no, I don't want to participate. And if each of us stands up and says no, then we'll make a difference. Let's not be running, because you see what we are doing as institutions for many years, we are running after the horse that has bolted.
That's true.
But let's keep the horse in its
stable.
And I think we all as a country understand that, Annette. And what you're talking about is impunity. By the time impunity gets here, it's because impunity is the absence of accountability that just continues fueling impunity.
Yeah.
We all understand that there's been a breakdown in law and order in very many instances. We create these institutions that, one, let us have cohesion in this country. All right, let's look at one another and avoid escalating issues within communities. So we create an institution that will address that.
Yeah.
Another one that will address not just corruption, but ethics.
Yes.
That's going into our moral values. We create that. We even put a chapter in the Constitution that will talk about our values and ethics. We create an office of the DPP and we say, this one, we shall make it independent. The holder of this office shall not take direction from any human being, animal, or stone, and all those things to shield it. So that those institutions help to bring accountability, fight impunity, as they are also educating us and bringing the issue of values and morals back to us. Now, when we don't see impunity being fought, then there's no incentive to stop doing what you're doing. If you don't see impunity being fought, then if nobody gets punished for jumping the light, and they go and they leave you, and then you go and find traffic ahead, and you feel, so what was the point of me just standing at the lights?
Yeah.
So now the institution that you belong to, the ODPP, has the big task of taking prosecution cases to court with sufficient evidence, while at the same time making sure that you're protecting the rights of everybody, including the accused. So when you go now publicly and you say, you know what, we have sufficient evidence against Ndu. Ndu colluded, they this with the other. And I have directed the police to arrest Ndu and take the Ndu to court tomorrow. Public drama and all. And then that case collapses. You have not upheld the right of the citizens. Because there is no accountability, and you've not upheld the right of Ndu, whose children so are being arrested at the gate of their home or in their house in the middle of the night.
I agree with you. I think we bear a very heavy load, and we are cognizant of that as the ODPP, that the decisions that we make have far-reaching consequences. That, like you said, that the people of Kenya say, oh, we put you in place to do this work and you're not doing it. And many times the people who are accused, when, the case goes on, even if it goes on for a year, that's a year, when you didn't come to work regularly. Nothing else is happening. You're not sleeping well. Your family is stressed and so on. So we are cognizant of that responsibility. And we are cognizant of the fact that we need to protect public resources. And so I don't think that any decision is made lightly. That when you see someone being arrested, it's not done for the drama. It's not done because we want a public show. Because as at that point, the person making that decision, who's the DPP, is of the heavy view that there is sufficient evidence. That later on, unfortunately, something might turn up and that decision, the information that he had at that time was not accurate. And so even when that case is being withdrawn, it's not being withdrawn lightly. There's a lot of conversations and a lot of decisions that have to be made to see if we have a gap. Is this a gap that can be filled? And many times we even go back to court and say, listen, we've realized that we have a big gap here, that if this gap is not covered, then we won't end up in a conviction. And many times the court tells us, go back, you have this new evidence, let's supply this new evidence, give the defense time to peruse the evidence, and let's proceed with the case. So it's not that in every instance where we realize there's a gap, we withdraw. Sometimes it can be filled, but there are times it can't be filled. There are times that we have to accept and fall on our sword and say, no, this decision was the right decision at the time, but at this point, it's not the right decision. And so that we don't cause further injustice, we're asking to stop the case at this point.
Are high-profile cases harder to adjudicate than the lower ones because, again, public perception, which many could argue is perception and not the case, but public perception, just as importantly, would be that it's easier to go after somebody who's lower in profile or status than somebody else. And that's why we see that it's quick to say, okay, you earn 50,000 shillings, but you have property worth 350 million. It's not possible. Let's go after you. If we saw the same thing happening with a governor or a member of parliament, it would be more difficult to go after that person. Why would that perception be formed?
So It is a little more difficult because of the opportunities and privileges that higher profile individuals have. So for instance, if I'm an accountant at a lower level accountant, for instance, with government, if I have some extra money, where am I keeping my extra money? Probably I bought a shamba back home. I've bought my wife a new car. Sometimes I've bought a new car that even your colleagues are like, ume afford aje hiyo gari. But if we're talking about this person, they leave the country and go to Jersey Island and open a company there and deposit the money there, or to another country, and so the how the money is hidden is a little more complex. And so for us to realize, you have unexplained assets, we have to have a lot of bilateral agreements. We have to do a lot of mutual legal assistance. Some countries, we don't even have those agreements with them, and you try to get there and they're like, yeah, we can't help you. You just sort yourselves out in your country. Us guys, our lives are continuing well. And again, we are fighting. Many times we are developing country fighting, dealing with very developed countries, and some countries are, they're just unwilling to cooperate with us to pursue those assets. So sometimes that is the case. So and it's the same. It's really the example that people talk about, mwizi wa kuku. Mwizi wa kuku is easy. First of all, even your neighbors are like, but we unanga kuku. They are willing to come and testify.
Is hanging out of your mouth.
It's already hanging over your mouth. Versus this other person who they can even, I have an accountant who cover my tracks. I have company upon company that the money moves here, and we have shell companies that I even have a location. So when we start investigating, you're like, but is this really corrupt money or is it genuine money? So it is a little more difficult. And even when we come to court, we talk about how many lawyers are you showing up with? We've seen some cases where plea starts in the morning, and in the evening we have not even gotten to the last lawyer because someone showed up with 10 lawyers. So it is a little bit more complicated for the higher profile cases.
International Anti-Corruption Day will be commemorated tomorrow, and that's the reason why we had Annette Wangia, Senior Principal Prosecution Counsel in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, as our guest today. Where is it taking place tomorrow?
We're in Murang'a, at Murang'a University, and we're asking everybody in Murang'a to turn up. I think it's a moment for us to pause, to look at where have we come from and what else can we do, and we'll be having very interesting conversations there.
Asante sana. So see you in Murang'a tomorrow. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you here on Monday. Good morning, 10 a.m.
Spice up your life